Chapter 782. Han Fei didn't feel good when he read the message. None of them, including him, expected that the red tree was the 1,000-year tree demon that Yu Han mentioned. Han Fei had an idea. The 1,000-year tree demon was highly intelligent and knew how to disguise and deceive. Then, Han Fei's first thought was to dodge. Without any hesitation, Han Fei simply performed the flying flower demon flash and broke away from the team. The moment Han Fei broke away from the team, everybody's hearts skipped a beat. However, Yu Han, Yu Ji, and Yu Ying were the fastest to react. However, the three of them had different reactions. Yu Han instantly created a weird red barrier for himself and tried to escape. Yu Ying turned into a dozen shadows and appeared in the sky. Yu Ji was the only one who took action. She grabbed the harpoon with both hands, and an enormous water giant was condensed. She wanted to protect the others. Han Fei was dumbfounded when he saw that. You can react fast enough, and you're still protecting the others. Do you know what kind of creature you're dealing with? Pu Ci. Pu Ci. Kacha. What happened next made Han Fei and Yu Ying's blood freeze. They were both horrified. Hundreds of demonic stings pierced out of the ground. They were all heavenly talents. The moment Han Fei realized what was going on, they had already risen. Two of them were even using the flying flower demon flash. However, they were still one step too slow. Also, they underestimated the 1,000-year tree demon's abilities. As it turned out, the 1,000-year tree demon's 1,000-year demonic stings weren't limited to attacks from underground anymore. They darted out from the ground, and there was more than one of them. Han Fei, Yu Ying, and Yu Han were among them. Even though they had run out, a weird red stinger was still extended from their back. Han Fei's body was in a weird posture, and the red stinger was right next to his head. If he had been one step slower, he might not have been able to keep his head. Yu Ying was more relaxed than Han Fei. Her shadow had been pierced, and she had switched to another shadow. Yu Ying was even slightly surprised. What kind of movement technique was Han Fei using? It was actually so ingenious. That reaction speed was simply too terrifying. As a peak-level sea demon expert, Yu Han shifted his body the moment he left. At the same time, a pair of scissors dashed at the 1,000-year tree demon, which was even faster than Han Fei. Unfortunately, except for the three of them, everyone, including Yu Ji, was stabbed. The two fellows who used the flying flower demon flash in the blink of an eye were also pierced through. The water man formed by Yu Ji couldn't resist the 1,000-year demon's sting at all and was pierced in an instant. As for her entire body, she was lifted high into the sky. The reason was because the 1,000-year demon's spike had failed to pierce through her divine armor. Among them, only Yu Ji had a divine battle suit. Therefore, she was the only one who managed to block the attack. However, even so, Yu Ji spat out a mouthful of blood. As for the others, one of them also had a semi-divine golden battle suit. However, it was useless. The golden battle suit was also pierced through. However, because that person had used the flying flower demon flash, he still had time to change direction the moment his armor was pierced. Therefore, the place where he was pierced had changed from his chest to his thigh. Those who didn't run away in time were badly wounded by the messy 100-year demon stings and 1,000-year demon stings. Those demon stings didn't finish after one stab but kept on stabbing. After one stab, the next one arrived. Yu Lu and Yu Xian, who had died once earlier, couldn't be resurrected this time. How could they survive after using their immortal seals? Also, this time was different from the last time. This time, they weren't faced with 100-year tree demon, but 300-year tree demons and 1,000-year tree demon. The tree demons had only one way to attack, which was with stings. They would suddenly attack when the enemy was unprepared. Clang! Yu Han's scissors had already cut through the barrier that the 1,000-year tree demon disguised. However, there was another problem. The 1,000-year tree demon had already crawled into the ground and disappeared. Yu Han roared, "Damn it! It's a 1,000-year tree demon. We've run into a 1,000-year tree demon. It was impossible to catch up with it. Once it landed, who could resist the unpredictable 1,000-year demon stings? Even Han Fei didn't dare to say that he could resist the 1,000-year demon stings. After all, those were demon stings that could pierce semi-divine weapons. The indestructible body could only resist ultra-quality demonic weapons in its strongest state. That was when the enemy wasn't a heavenly talent. If the enemy was a heavenly talent, he wouldn't be able to resist it even with an ultra-quality demonic weapon. However, those people thought that they had run into a 1,000-year tree demon and didn't notice the 100-year tree demon at all. At this moment, all the demon stings had sunk into the ground. 11 people finally began to truly fall. At this moment, there were only 9 left. 5 of them didn't have their immortal seals anymore. Yu Hun's heart was chilled by that. What the hell was going on? 2 of the 11 heavenly talents from the 10,000 Demon Valley had died. What should he do if he ran into such a situation again? The 5 of them might be killed at any moment. Yu Ji suddenly grabbed her harpoon and pointed at Han Fei. Why did you run away alone? Everyone looked at Han Fei with unkind eyes. Han Fei was unmoved. There's no time. I can only tell you with my actions that danger is coming while I'm trying to save my life. Nobody dared to be angry after hearing what Han Fei said. After all, what happened just now happened too fast. Any one of them would have chosen to run away instead of wasting time to talk to other people telepathically. Yu Hun said gloomily, "You were the first to discover this place." Han Fei said, "I didn't discover this place. I only smelled it." Yu Hun looked rather gloomy. Logically speaking, it wasn't Han Fei's fault. But in terms of attitude, Han Fei had been too cold-blooded since the beginning. Yu Hun didn't realize that he was actually as fast as Han Fei when he ran away. Yu Ji put down the harpoon in her hand. In any case, after these days of observation, the feeling that she cherished Han Fei's talent had completely disappeared. This guy didn't seem to fit in with them at all. Putting down the harpoon, Yu Ji lowered her head and looked at the seabed. The 1,000-year tree demon is definitely still here. We should kill him. Ewing instantly sneered. How? We're different from human beings. We can control some of the creatures, but we can't control the plants. Someone was still in shock. They had died once, and they might really be killed if they went down again. Someone disagreed and found a very suitable excuse. Our goal is to kill that withered tree, not to fight the 1,000-year tree demon here. Someone thought for a moment. If there's an opportunity down there, Yu Hun roared, "No, let's leave this place." Han Fei secretly sneered. He had been holding his breath the whole time, but he felt that something wasn't right. Where was the illusion? Where was it? Yu Hun was the captain, and he had to leave. Without any hesitation, everybody swam toward the forest of algae. However, as soon as the crowd moved, they saw a sky full of red demon spikes piercing through the void. Yu Hun and the others roared, "Not good. Let's go." Frowning, Han Fei mumbled, "That's not right. Will the 1,000-year tree demon's stings appear in the void? If that's the case, why did he pretend to be a tree and take root in the bushes?" Han Fei quickly twisted his body and retreated, his brain spinning violently. He tried to block the stings with his harpoon, but it turned out that the stings were fake. In the end, that was not the case at all. The demon spike was fake. Not just Han Fei, but everybody else did too. Ewing roared, "No, they're all fake. Don't move." Nobody dared to move, not even Yu Hun. He could fight in the front line, but he had never been to this place before. Although he could refer to the files, what he read in the books was completely different from what he had seen in real life. Besides, the files didn't mention such a thing. At this moment, nobody dared to move. However, the purple vine time was growing crazily. Han Fei cut some of them apart, only to discover that they were real and had the power to pull everybody. Even Han Fei felt that his blood was freezing when he saw what happened next. he found that the bottom of the ocean was twisted. The bottom of the ocean around them was slowly folding like a piece of paper, as if it were going to enshroud him. Immediately, the eyes of true vision appeared in Han Fei's eyes, but nothing happened. However, the crisis was getting greater and greater. Han Fei looked around. Everybody tried to move forward in all directions. However, when they looked back, everybody was gone. Han Fei also noticed this scene. Everybody was gone. That's outrageous. Am I the only one left? It was silent. All of a sudden, Han Fei felt that something was stabbing at him. His body was dodging out of instinct. However, hardly had he dodged it when he was shot by somebody with a clang. Huh? 100-year demonic stinger. No, that's not right. If it were 100-year demonic stinger, the ultra-quality battle suit would have been pierced through. Then, is it a spear? Somebody is attacking me, Han Fei discovered, to his shock, that his head was extremely clear, but he still couldn't break through the illusion. Everybody else must be in the same situation as him. He couldn't see them, and they couldn't see him either. Fuse. Han Fei chose to fuse without any hesitation. During his growth, Han Fei had chosen to fuse only a few times. For one thing, it was not easy to control Little Black's hostility, and for another, the yin-yang divine eyes were too conspicuous. However, now he couldn't even see anybody and was surrounded by crises. And the crisis was getting bigger and bigger. If he didn't fuse at this time, would he be blind? At the moment of fusion, a heavy hostility rose in Han Fei's heart. One of his eyes was black, the other white, and his face was expressionless. However, this fusion seemed to be clearer than the previous times. Han Fei even thought, could it be that I can control the state of fusion? The next moment, he saw a world of light and shadow. In the light and shadow, 8 people were cautiously probing. Among them, occasionally, someone would suddenly attack one of the shadows. Outside of the light and shadow, densely packed vines were slowly extending in front of everyone. A red stout tree man was stealthily approaching one of them. And there were 2 approaching Han Fei. One was a 100-year tree demon, and the other was a half-mermaid. Han Fei remembered that his name seemed to be Yu Chang, the guy who had just been resurrected from the immortal seal. A bloody smile appeared on Han Fei's face, and a trace of hostility inexplicably emerged. First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 783. Faced with such a weird scene, Han Fei smiled. Killing intent surged in his heart, and he tried to control his body. Feeling the sobriety in his head, Han Fei forced himself to suppress the hostility. Suddenly, Han Fei reached out, picked a leaf of the wisteria herb that was spreading over, and put it in his mouth. At that moment, Han Fei felt a coolness rush into his head, and the hostility was gradually dispelled. Wow! Good stuff. Han Fei sucked the leaf that was fatter than peppermint. It was slightly sticky and had the chewiness of chewing gum. Suddenly, Han Fei sensed that he was scanned by a weird perception. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw that the 1,000-year tree demon stopped and seemed to be staring at him. Although the 1,000-year tree demon didn't have eyes, Han Fei felt that it was looking at him. It seemed to have sensed that he was eating the peppermint leaf. As a highly intelligent spiritual plant creature, it was probably wondering why this different sea demon was eating the time leaf. Was it really stupid? Han Fei thought of something. I can't let the 1,000-year tree demon know that I've recovered. Besides, isn't this a good environment? Now that his head was so clear, the first thing that came to his mind was to kill Yu Chang not far away. A streak of light burst out, and Han Fei charged at Yu Chang. However, Yu Chang was also a heavenly talent, and his reaction was extremely fast. Han Fei activated the Flying Flower Demon Flash and flashed away at the moment of danger. But the next moment, Han Fei smiled. Blindly dodging, look, where have you dodged to? Yu Chang dove into a patch of wisteria and white fragrant grass. Almost immediately, he was entangled by thousands of vines. Han Fei chased after him and activated another streak of light. At the same time, seeing that the thousand-year tree demon didn't move, Han Fei said telepathically, "How about I cooperate with you to kill them?" Puchi. Han Fei pierced through Yu Chang. He raised his harpoon, and a sea-swallowing seashell appeared in his hand. In the next moment, Han Fei flashed away with the flying flower demon flash. Then, a terrifying power burst out and blasted at the vines of the wisteria herb. Han Fei sneered. Han Fei sneered. This dying strike couldn't find anyone, so it started to attack randomly. Han Fei put away the sea-swallowing seashell and continued speaking telepathically, "I know you can understand what I'm saying. First, you used yourself as bait to lure them over to snatch the treasure and kill them. When they let their guard down, or even if they didn't need to let their guard down at all, once they stayed for too long, they would fall into a half-real, half-illusory illusion. And this wisteria time leaf is only to help them increase the sense of reality, allowing them to be in between reality and illusion. Truly a good method." Han Fei stood still, because the purple vine thymus grass no longer approached him. Suddenly, a pure language of spiritual power popped up in Han Fei's head. "I understand your spiritual power, but I can't understand your language." "But why did you kill your companion?" Han Fei sneered. "Look at me. Look at what they look like. Do you think we will be companions?" The thousand-year tree demon was silent for a moment. "Okay, let's work together." Han Fei grinned and didn't attack Yu Ji and the others. He couldn't kill them even if he wanted to because he was wearing a divine weapon. However, the harpoon in his hand had been replaced by a semi-divine weapon, and a golden battle suit had appeared on his body. He had looted all of them, and he could pretend to be Yu Ji and the others. After all, even if Yu Hun and the others could break the illusion in the end, they wouldn't think of him when they found that their companions were all killed by a semi-divine weapon, because he didn't have a semi-divine weapon at all. Han Fei rushed to the other person unscrupulously. The man was appalled and knew that he was in danger. A phantom fish companion spirit appeared, and countless shadows seemed to be moving on its body. At the same time, he unleashed the most powerful Sea King strike in the direction of the danger. However, having vision and not having vision were two different concepts. Besides, Han Fei had the yin-yang divine eyes at this moment. Han Fei saw the man's attack path clearly. Puchi. After killing another one, Han Fei stabbed his hand into the man's chest and escaped with the flying flower demon flash the moment he took out his sea-swallowing seashell. However, as soon as Han Fei's figure appeared, he was blasted into the dense vines by a terrifying force. Pooh! Damn it! I underestimated the death hammer strike. Han Fei cast the divine healing technique on himself and felt that his hands were shivering. Thankfully, he was wearing a semi-divine battle suit and blocked the attack with the golden harpoon. If he were wearing an ultra-quality battle suit, he would have been heavily wounded. However, at this moment, Han Fei suddenly sensed that tremendous vines were rolling at him. Han Fei instantly spoke telepathically, "Hey! What's the meaning of this? We're allies now." However, the tree demon replied casually, "Those who are not of my race must be of different minds." Han Fei was lost for words. "Fuck you. You must have a different heart. I'll kill you too if I decide to be ruthless." Han Fei opened his mouth and bit a bunch of peppermint leaves. His body trembled violently, and a powerful force burst out, shattering the vines. A terrifying knife intent swept out of his body and tore a gap in the vines. Nine-tailed mantis shrimp, capture this wretched tree demon. Hundreds of void chains appeared out of thin air from the ground. The thousand-year tree demon didn't see this coming. How could this man-fish be so strong? However, it was too late. Han Fei tore the vines apart and charged at him so fast that he was horrified. Swish! 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 The thousand-year demonic stings stabbed at Han Fei crazily. However, every time the thousand-year demonic stings appeared, Han Fei had already dodged them. Ah! When Han Fei stabbed out with his harpoon, he heard an unpleasant, ear-piercing scream. Han Fei frowned. Who unleashed the sea demon scream? Han Fei thought to himself, go ahead and scream. You'll all be dead by the time they come. The 1,000-year tree demon was in danger, and the 300-year demonic stings all stabbed at Han Fei. However, with all kinds of weird movements, none of the demonic stings could hit Han Fei. Bam! He dug a hole in the 1,000-year tree demon's body with a harpoon. Han Fei flashed out and slashed down with the harpoon as a knife. Wait a minute, let's cooperate. Cooperate my ass. I've given you a chance. Bam! Tough as the 1,000-year tree demon was, it couldn't resist the semi-divine harpoon that contained invincible fighting intent. Its body was simply shattered by Han Fei. At that moment, Han Fei suddenly realized that a red shadow had escaped to the ground. However, Han Fei didn't need to say anything. The void chains had blocked the demonic stings' way and pulled them out. Han Fei grabbed the red stings. Having no time to look at them, he quickly moved to Yu Hun. Hey! Let's kill you while you're bragging. Han Fei reacted very quickly. Now that the 1,000-year tree demon was dead, the illusions couldn't stop Yu Ji and the others anymore. At this moment, Yu Ji was enshrouded in a high-pressure water ball. She seemed to be preparing to launch a weird attack. Han Fei simply extended the sea racing technique with the 64-dimensional ichthyosaur transformation and moved at the highest speed. The void chains had already enshrouded Yu Hun. Yu Hun seemed to know that danger was lurking. His body glowed so brilliantly that all the sea vine grasses within 100 meters exploded. However, Han Fei was too busy with the majestic mystic spell to care about that. Hiu! Bam! Han Fei grunted and blew up Yu Hun's head with his harpoon. He was about to give Yu Hun another blow when he was resurrected. However, in Han Fei's bracelet, old Shu Shan suddenly said, the illusions can't last 2 seconds. 2 seconds later, as Yu Ji's terrifying high-pressure water ball spread in all directions, everybody emerged from the illusions. What they saw in the end wasn't that Yu Ji burst out, but that Han Fei was swimming from the bottom of the ocean with blood on his lips. Where Han Fei left, a bunch of red trees had collapsed. Everybody could tell that it was a 1,000-year tree demon. At this moment, Han Fei was holding a broken ultra-quality demonic harpoon, and his eyes were no longer black and white. He vomited 2 mouthfuls of blood and the sticky peppermint leaves. Stop! Ewing bellowed. Yu Ji breathed heavily. Who blew up my head? Stand out! Hardly had Yu Hun returned from the void when he glanced around, only to find that the illusions were over. Han Fei was the furthest away from him. Not far away from him was the broken 1,000-year tree demon, which was obviously broken by Han Fei. Yu Ji was breathing heavily, and weird water waves were surging around her. He had guessed what attack Yu Ji used and ruled it out. Then, it could only be Yu Ying and Yu Bing. It was because Yu Bing was the other guy who had a semi-divine weapon. The terrifying attack just now could have chopped off his head if it weren't a semi-divine weapon. The guy named Yu Bing was stunned to see that Yu Hun was looking at him unkindly. He asked in surprise, Lord Yu Hun. You used the immortal seal. Yu Hun couldn't have looked more awful. He looked at Yu Ying and demanded angrily, which of you attacked me just now? Both of them frowned, and Yu Ying said, I was cutting the vines just now. Yu Hun instantly looked at Yu Bing, who was at a loss. I didn't know who tried to kill me just now. I blocked the attack. Yu Hun couldn't have been more aggrieved. He was trembling in fury, but he couldn't kill him. He could only glare at Yu Bing. I didn't die in the front line, but you almost killed me just now. Second update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 784. Yu Ji frowned. How did 3 of them die in such a short time? Yes, 2 of them were killed by Han Fei, and Han Fei didn't know who killed the last one. All in all, it was a mess just now. There was the sound of water splashing and the sound of explosions. No one could see it, so who would know who killed who? The remaining 6 people were all silent. Even if they killed their companions, they couldn't say it. Wouldn't they be idiots if they did? Even if they survived the treasure trove, they would be punished after they returned to the 10,000 Demon Valley. Suddenly, a cold voice said, "Can we stop talking? There are still 300-year tree demons." It was exactly Han Fei who spoke. At this moment, Han Fei was indifferent, as if he couldn't care less about who was killed. He seemed to be acting as if somebody owed him $8 million. Everybody shivered. "Where are the other 3? Han Fei pointed with his harpoon. "Over there, over there, over there." The 100-year tree demons that Han Fei pointed out immediately pulled their roots and ran crazily. They had no idea when they were exposed. However, they couldn't be faster than Yu Hun and the others, who were infuriated no matter how fast they ran with their roots. After no more than 100 seconds, the 300-year tree demons were cut into pieces. What frustrated Yu Hun and the others was that they didn't get any demonic stings. Without the control of the 100-year tree demons and the 1,000-year tree demons, the vines all retreated, and peace was restored. Han Fei landed on the ground and cut a lot of purple vine white vanilla with his harpoon, before he stuffed them into his sea-swallowing seashell. Yu Ji frowned. "Yu Fei, what are you doing?" Yu Hun asked too, "Why are you cutting the grass?" Han Fei said without raising his head, "It can refresh the brain and keep the head clear. Also, it tastes good." Everybody. "What do you mean it tastes good? We just experienced a life-and-death battle. You're telling us that the grass tastes good?" Yu Ji frowned hard. "Yu Fei, how did you locate the 1,000-year tree demons? How did you know where the 100-year tree demons were?" Hearing Yu Ji's question, Yu Hun asked Han Fei too, "Weren't you caught in illusions just now? Can you see what just happened?" Han Fei shook his head. "I didn't see anyone." Yu Ji asked, "Then why did you?" Han Fei pointed at the wisteria white vanilla and said, "Just now, I was almost tied up by these and bit off one of them. Then, I found that holding this leaf in my mouth can refresh me. Then, I realized that there was a flaw in the illusion. Just now, there was a gap where the vines had spread over. The gathering of spiritual energy was too dense, so I tested it and found that they were here." Yuing interjected, "How can you see the distribution of spiritual energy?" Han Fei also pretended to be shocked. "Can't you see? Isn't this a necessary survival skill for marine creatures?" Everyone, Yuing was lost for words and thought to herself, maybe it's just a legend. Who the fuck told you that seeing spiritual energy gathering is a necessary survival skill? Why didn't I know? Yuji was silent. Is this the legend? Yu Hun was no longer angry at Han Fei. He even complimented, "Thankfully, you killed the 1,000-year tree demon in time. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to keep my head." Han Fei secretly sneered. "If the 1,000-year tree demon hadn't been untrustworthy and the illusion hadn't been broken so quickly, you would have been killed by me." Now, the situation here had been settled. Han Fei wasn't in a hurry. It had only been 6 hours since they came in, and only 6 of the 11 people were left. There would be plenty of time in the future. Yours truly loves this sort of chaotic environment the most. Yu Ji said, "It's already happened. Everybody was exhausted just now. Now that the crisis here has been resolved, I suggest we take a rest here." Yu Hun nodded. "That's right. We need to reflect on ourselves. Don't be too greedy." Han Fei ignored them and cut the grass on his own. After cutting a bunch of them, he threw some of them into the spiritual spring and forged the universe to be nurtured. This thing was really good. It could even suppress Little Black's brutality. He could keep a piece of it in his mouth during a battle to keep his head clear. It was even more useful than the 6-god brain-nourishing fluid. After cutting for a while, Han Fei found that Yuda, who was the only one who didn't have a semi-divine weapon, was also cutting the grass. Han Fei suddenly stood up and stopped cutting. Yuda grinned. I've used the immortal seal. If I die again, I'll really be screwed. I need to keep my head clear after that. Han Fei nodded and thought to himself, do you think you're me? If you encounter such illusions again, the clearer your head is, the faster you'll die. What a useless fish. Suddenly, Han Fei sensed that there seemed to be a long thing with roots below the ground. Immediately, Han Fei stopped cutting the grass and began to dig. Everyone? Ying asked, Yu Fei, why are you digging again? Han Fei said coldly, pay attention to your surroundings. Exploring the ground and excavating treasures are necessary methods for marine creatures to survive. Everybody's face instantly darkened. Necessary methods? You really have a lot of necessary methods. However, Yu Bing approached him. Are you saying that there's treasure down there? Han Fei said coldly, it's mine. Immediately, everybody spread out their senses and found that there seemed to be a long thing 10 meters below the ground. They didn't know what it was. But it was a pity that there was only one of it. They couldn't compete with Han Fei for it. After all, Han Fei just killed the 1,000-year tree demon and rescued them. A moment later, a red fruit that looked like a carrot with 6 long roots appeared. Intense energy and spiritual energy were spreading from it. Everybody's eyes glittered when they saw it. It was a good thing. Information popped up in Han Fei's eyes. Name, Six-tailed ginseng. Introduction. This is a six-tailed ginseng that grows in the purple vine 100 herbs. It absorbs the essence of the herbs and contains abundant energy and spiritual energy. It can enhance the 5 senses and improve spiritual power. Leveled demon leveled quality ultra spiritual energy greater than 498,000 points. Effect, if you eat it directly, you'll increase a lot of spiritual energy and your spiritual power by 10%. It's not effective for creatures above the hidden fisher level. After taking it, you can't eat other similar spiritual fruits for 100 days. It won't work if you eat it again. How rare this thing was. Han Fei was delighted. This is good. It's even better than the sunflower fruit just now. It's rich in spiritual energy and energy. It can't be better for a breakthrough. Sensing that he had consumed a lot of spiritual energy, Han Fei simply plucked a long root and stuffed it into his mouth. Everyone? Yuji asked, you're just eating it. Ying asked, aren't you scared that it's poisonous? Yu Han asked, do you know what it's for? I don't even know it, and you're eating it. Han Fei said casually, it can tell if a spiritual fruit is poisonous. Everybody said at the same time, it's a necessary skill for sea creatures to survive. Ying rolled her eyes. Can't you say something else? After a brief daze, Han Fei nodded. You're right. You're a fast learner. Everyone, about half an hour passed, and no other sea demons came. Obviously, the sea demon's screams just now didn't attract anyone. It meant that they were the only team within 300 kilometers. No. To be exact, they were half a team. Yu Han rose and said solemnly, let's keep going, but we can't act recklessly this time. Yu Fei, if something similar happens again, well, check it with your necessary skills first. If it's fine, we'll take action. Yu Han was good at fighting, but he didn't know anything about survival skills at all. Well, he wouldn't have lived to this day if he didn't know anything. It was just that he had never seen such a weird place before. Han Fei nodded and thought to himself, you're the first one to die in danger. After they rose, they returned to the forest of giant algae under everybody's insistence. After all, the forest of giant algae was less dangerous. If it were a place like the Wisteria White Vanilla, 5 of them would have been killed after only 1 visit. Who could they complain to? As a matter of fact, Han Fei didn't find a chance to attack after swimming for half a day. However, he did find a lot of spiritual fruits and other treasures. Almost everyone received 3 pills. More than 20 100-year tree demons were killed. Han Fei didn't even need to do anything. Yu Han and the others, who hated the tree demons to the core, simply went forward and killed them without any mercy. For some reason, Han Fei inexplicably felt that he had become the new captain. He seemed to be even more prestigious than Yu Han. At this moment, Yudo was mumbling, "How big is this place exactly? We've been walking for such a long time, but we haven't run into a single person, not even a human being." Suddenly, in Han Fei's perception, he found a messy place 40 kilometers away. A great battle seemed to have just taken place there. Han Fei swam in that direction calmly. When he was 20 kilometers away, Yu Han roared, "Follow me. I've found a problem." A moment later, everybody stood on ruins. All sorts of branches and leaves were scattered here, and there were traces of swords and sabers slicing through everything. There was also a terrifying fist imprint, and the remains of a 1,000-year tree demon lay in the crater created by the fist imprint. Judging from the aftershock of the fist mark, Han Fei suddenly felt inexplicably familiar. Huh? The fist mark of the Chao family? Chao Qiu is here. Third chapter. Asking for votes. Asking for votes. Only 3 chapters today. Mwah, end of this chapter. Chapter 785. The first person Han Fei thought of was Chao Qiu. Only Chao Qiu would casually throw a punch at people. Perhaps, he still had a lot of such fist prints. Han Fei frowned. If they could find Chao Qiu, it would be too easy to kill Yu Han and the others. At most, if he threw 2 fist marks and the crowd pounced on him, no matter how talented Yu Ji and the others were, they would still be killed. Yu Han said solemnly, "Humans. We ran into a team of humans. There were at least 3 manipulators, an armorist, and a soul warrior. It should be a full class. Humans have always liked to cooperate in battle." For a moment, everybody including Yu Han grew anxious. To be precise, some of them were nervous, while some were excited. For example, Yudo was the only one who had not participated in the frontline battle. He had often heard of how powerful humans were, and he had often heard of the stories told by the experts who had returned from the front lines. Therefore, at this moment, he was both afraid and expectant. Yu Ji said in a deep voice, "There are too few of us." Since the other party had the ability to kill the 1,000-year tree demon, it meant that his strength was definitely not weak. "My advice is to avoid it." Yu Han nodded. Yu Ji is right. Do not underestimate human experts. If human beings were so easy to deal with, the Scattered Stars Island would have been conquered by us a long time ago. Ewing slightly nodded too. "So, which direction should we go?" Everyone fixed their eyes on Han Fei. What it meant was, you have a lot of necessary skills, so you lead the way. At this moment, no one doubted Han Fei. After all, Han Fei killed the 1,000-year tree demon in the battle just now. Otherwise, even if they survived in the end, there would be fewer people left. Expressionlessly, Han Fei popped a peppermint leaf into his mouth and looked around. He landed on the ground and laid on the ground, pretending to be very professional. In fact, he was purely analyzing. There was bound to be a manipulator in the team. In such an environment, the existence of manipulators could prevent most plants from approaching them. Therefore, the place with the biggest gaps in the plants was definitely the direction that the humans had left in. However, he wasn't sure if Yu Han and the others had any experience. If they found out that he wanted to lead them to catch up with the human team, Yuji and the others would definitely suspect him. Immediately, under the astonished gazes of the group, he looked in a direction that was completely opposite of the direction that the humans had left in. The plants on that road have been touched by some kind of power. Yu Han instantly asked, "How could you tell?" Ewing said, "You don't say." It's also a necessary skill for sea creatures to survive. Han Fei thought for a moment. This road is relatively open and has an excellent view. To be able to deal with danger calmly, it should have been explored before. On the other side, the algae leaves are densely packed, as if they're intentionally hiding themselves. Han Fei didn't say the answer but gave them a choice. Choose for yourselves which way to go. However, Han Fei subconsciously guided them, almost telling them to hide their traces and leave in the direction where the algae were flourishing. Yu Han said, "Let's go. Our purpose is to kill the dry tree, not to fight human beings." Yu Ji had a feeling that something was wrong. But it sounded very reasonable, so he nodded and said, "I agree." Han Fei sneered in his heart. "I hope that bastard Chao Chiu walks slower. Then, he could use them to kill Yu Han and the others. Then, he could sneak away first. Something in this ocean forest that could trigger the demon purification pot had to be extraordinary. He would rather look for treasures than kill a tree. Or, Han Fei felt that he could find a place to turn into a human. Then, he could kill some half-mermaids openly. Who would return to the 10,000 Demon Valley then? On his wrist, Shu Shan suddenly said, "Are you trying to kill all of them by lying to them?" Han Fei said, "What are you talking about? I showed them the way to go in the deep sea." Shu Shan thought to himself, "That's bullshit." He reminded him, "Boy, don't think you're smart. If there are traces of battle left by human beings up ahead, you'll easily give yourself away." Han Fei frowned. That does make sense. So, Han Fei immediately said, "Wait a moment." Yu Han asked, "What? What did you find?" Han Fei suddenly pointed at the place where the algae were dense. "Actually, I think we should go after the human beings." "Why?" The others asked one after another, expressing their puzzlement. Han Fei said casually, "The human beings came from this open road but covered their tracks here. Did they find anything?" Han Fei's words reminded everybody. Han Fei was quite satisfied. This sentence was mainly pointing out the direction in which the humans had come from. So, it was only natural that they found traces of battle along the way. Han Fei was also certain that Yu Han wouldn't want to chase after the human beings. The fist marks of the Chao family were so powerful that even he might not be able to resist them, not to mention Yu Han and the others. As he expected, Yu Han waved his hand and said, "No, listen to me. We're few in number, and the human beings have multiple manipulators. It's highly disadvantageous for us to fight them head-on. Our top priority is to meet up with another team of sea demons." Yu Bing said, "I agree with Lord Yu Han's suggestion." Yuda said, "Me too." Both of them were scared. Yu Bing still had his immortal seal, and Yuda only had one life left. So did Yu Han. They didn't want to take any risks, or who could they blame if they died for nothing? Han Fei sneered. "The more scared you are, the sooner you die. Let's go. I'll take you to hell." Half an hour passed. Han Fei and the others saw 3 traces of battle. Everyone felt that this was a path that humans had already explored, and the safety factor was extremely high. So, they moved very fast. Han Fei was the only one who paid attention to the gathering of spiritual energy, the changes of the vines, and the smell of the torn leaves. A moment later, in the 4th trace of battle, Han Fei knew that he was about to catch up with the human beings based on the unusual gathering of spiritual energy. Suddenly, Yu Han frowned and said, "Something's not right. I feel that the air of human beings is more intense." Yu Bing asked, "Did they die here?" Yu Han thought for a moment and said, "It's possible. However, it's possible that we've run into another team of human beings. If my guess is correct, the area that we and the human beings have explored has begun to merge. Let's be careful." After another quarter, Han Fei suddenly sensed that someone was fighting a 100-year tree demon. Someone was fighting a 100-year tree demon. Huh? Chao Chiu isn't here. Wait, Chao Jiaran. Han Fei raised his eyebrows and spoke telepathically, "Finish the battle as soon as possible. A half-mermaid is coming from behind you." Chao Jiaran, who was commanding the battle, suddenly stopped. Her gentle face didn't change much. Chao Jiaran looked back casually, only to find that the enemy was beyond her perception. So, she spoke telepathically to everybody, "Kill it in 3 seconds. Hunters, hide yourselves. Armorists, prepare to activate your shields. Manipulators, hide yourselves. Soul warriors, protect the spirit gatherers. Prepare for battle. As she spoke, Chao Jiaran picked up the jade flute that she had been carrying with her and put on a smile. Whoever the telepathic messenger was, whether he was kind or malicious, she was confident that she could deal with him as usual. Han Fei continued, one of them has a divine weapon and a battle suit, and the other three have semi-divine weapons and a battle suit. You should at least pretend that you're safe. Otherwise, you'll be detected in 20 seconds. Chao Jiaran frowned. Who is the person who just spoke? Human beings are all traveling in teams. Is it a 1,000-year tree demon? Does he want to kill the sea demons with us? Chao Jiaran instantly spoke to everybody telepathically, nobody is allowed to land at the bottom of the ocean. Suddenly, Yu Hun stopped and said in surprise, not good. We've run into human beings. Wait, are there only 5 of them? Yu Ji's face instantly changed. How is that possible? This path should have been taken by human beings. Why are there still humans here? Yu Ji looked at Han Fei, and Han Fei frowned and asked in confusion, that doesn't make sense. Are they fighting? Yu Hun shook his head. No. Huh. They're healing their wounds. The human spirit gatherers are healing the other 2 with healing techniques. Yu Hun was instantly tempted. This is a good opportunity. They seem to have just been through a battle and suffered heavy losses. Let's go over and kill them. Han Fei looked as calm as ever, but he was secretly overjoyed. This was the benefit of perception. Even though Yu Hun was a peak-level sea demon before, so what? He's not even as strong as me after he's suppressed as a whole. It's only natural that he's tricked. Seeing that Yu Hun had already rushed out, Yu De and Yu Bing followed him. They didn't dare to fight a complete team of human beings. They wanted to have a try against a few random soldiers. Because Yu Hun reacted too fast, Yu Ji and Yu Ying could only follow him. Han Fei chased after everybody and was only half a step behind. He dared not fall too far behind, fearing that he would be suspected. Among the human beings, he didn't know where they were except for one hunter. The positions of the others were all in his heart. And one hunter wanted to kill him. They were 10 kilometers away from each other. On the human side, a few of them rose and fled. Yu Hun roared, full speed. The human beings are trying to escape. When Yu Hun and the others were within 1,000 meters of where the human beings ran, Han Fei suddenly found that the heaven spirit detoxifying insect in his body was agitated and began to swallow as if it were eating jelly. Shoot! Poison God. Han Fei should have guessed that Chao Jiaran was Chao Qiu's sister, and it was only natural that she had a poison god. Also, this poison god was definitely a strengthened version. Almost in an instant, Han Fei was inexplicably angry and wanted to fight. After only 1 second, Yu Ji suddenly said, wait, it's an ambush. Woo, woo, woo. At that moment, weird and mysterious music echoed. The people who ran earlier were dashing back. Thousands of swords and sabers swept across. A streak of purple light swept at Yu Hun like a dancing ribbon. The spiritual plants nearby all went on a rampage, and countless vines and leaves swept at them crazily. Vines extended from all directions, and some of the enormous vines slapped at them like snakes and scorpions. At that moment, Han Fei took a mouthful of the strengthened antidote of Poison God, fearing that the heaven spirit detoxifying insect couldn't resist it. Then, Han Fei twisted and turned among the vines like an agile monkey. However, a weird environment popped up around him, and Han Fei felt that his hearing, smell, and sight were all gone. Han Fei instantly spoke telepathically, hey, 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 we're still working together. I'm the inferior man-fish who sent you a telepathic message. How about you move the illusion away from me? However, as soon as he said this, he felt sound waves rippling in all directions. Every sound wave was as powerful as the attack of a peak-level hanging fisher. Han Fei was lost for words. Hey! Chao Jiaran, I'm a spy that human beings planted among the sea demons. Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 786. At that moment, the soundwave attack was gone. The illusions around Han Fei were gone, and Chao Jiaran had appeared 100 meters away from Han Fei at some point. Chao Jiaran looked at Han Fei. Even in this situation, her expression was still gentle, and there was even a faint smile on her face. Who are you? Ah. Before Han Fei answered, Han Fei saw that Yudo was pierced by a soul warrior in a mysterious barrier that was emitting colorful light and uttered a siren scream. When the soul warrior minced half of Yuda's body, several vines grabbed him and retreated. The armorist's 3 shields were placed before him. The terrifying dying strike burst out, and the first to be broken was an amulet. After the amulet was broken, an ultra-quality spiritual shield was shattered, and a crack appeared on the second shield. The soul warrior and the armorist, on the other hand, were both fine. Han Fei pointed at Yu Hun and said, "This is the captain of this team." He turned out to be an expert at the peak of the sea demon realm. He's already used his immortal seal. Chao Jiaran was a little surprised, and then she nodded. 3 armorists and 2 soul warriors charged at Yu Hun at the same time. Vines were tied to their waists, and they would be saved if anything went wrong. Chao Jiaran took a look at the battlefield and then at Han Fei. Han Fei bared his teeth and smiled. The rest of them all have the immortal seal and the dying strike. The one over there is called Yu Bing. He's the weakest, and his semi-divine weapon is broken. He's the easiest to kill. At this moment, Yu Hun was horrified. He seemed to know that he was going to die. He suddenly opened his hands and roared, "Honorable Sea King, I'll offer my life as a sacrifice for..." Han Fei took out his ultra-quality demonic weapon and shot it at Yu Hun. Half of his demonic chi was concentrated in the harpoon. However, an invisible force enshrouded Yu Hun. Han Fei's harpoon lunged forward crazily but failed to penetrate it. Han Fei grinned. Explode! Boom! The ultra-quality demonic weapon exploded, and Yu Hun's sacrifice was interrupted. It was just that under such a terrifying sacrifice, the explosion of the demonic artifact did not harm him at all. One of the soul warriors wielded a giant axe, and a giant crab appeared over his body as he slashed it down. An armorist's eyes were bloodshot. 9 soul saber, break armor. At the same time, Yu Hun was entangled by countless vines. Knowing that he was about to die, Yu Hun roared, "Sea God, arrive." When a golden shadow appeared, Yu Hun's power was increased by more than 5 times. Han Fei felt that his blood was freezing. However, the moment the golden figure appeared, a terrifying punch had already reached Yu Hun's face. Chao Jiaran had crushed a jade slip at some point. As soon as the phantom was formed, it was shattered by the attack of a peak-level hidden fissure. Then, Yu Hun was killed by a series of crazy bombardments. The moment Yu Hun died, Han Fei put on a smile and looked at Chao Jiaran. This man is rather strong. He's poisoned, but he's still so strong. I underestimated him. Chao Jiaran slightly frowned. You don't seem poisoned. Han Fei thought to himself, should I tell you that I have an antidote? Chao Jiaran didn't sell anymore. In her eyes, the half-mermaids who had been ambushed were no longer a threat. Han Fei was the only one who wasn't poisoned because of his identity. At this moment, he seemed rather relaxed. Chao Jiaran didn't dare to underestimate such a person. She had to stall him. The dying strike still didn't kill a single person. Han Fei could tell that the newcomers were all elites. Although they weren't as strong as the Scattered Stars first unit, the 3 armorists were still able to resist the dying strike if they cooperated with each other. Yu Hun was dead, and Yu Bing became the next target. However, to Han Fei's surprise, Yu Ying's body was melting. She seemed to have used some kind of mystical method to escape the illusion and even escape from this place. Chao Jiaran raised her flute and continued playing. Woo! Woo! Yu Ying vomited a few mouthfuls of blood in the weird sound waves, as if heaven and earth were descending. Eventually, her body disintegrated and gradually disappeared. In the last scene, Ewing looked at Han Fei thoughtfully. Han Fei quickly sensed the surroundings. In the next moment, somewhere 30 kilometers away, he saw a shadow slowly emerging. Han Fei's pupils constricted. What technique is this? Before Han Fei had time to think, Yuji's eyes glittered, perhaps because of the sea god's arrival just now. A golden giant suddenly enshrouded her. At that moment, a terrifying pressure seemed to have descended. It was the sea god's arrival that Yu Han had just performed. Chao Jiaren's weird melody was shattered. However, the woman wasn't panicked at all. She simply took out an ancient seal. In the next moment, a terrifying fist mark was punched out. Another one. To be more exact, he had one too. He asked Chao Chiu for it when he went to sea, but he never used it. Under the violent fist mark, the golden figure resisted the attack of a peak-level hidden fissure. Even though the figure was shaking and extremely weak, he managed to resist the attack. Huh? Chao Jiaren was slightly surprised, but she unhurriedly took out another piece of ancient jade and crushed it again. The same attack was launched again. This time, the golden figure didn't choose to resist but chose to escape. However, it was impossible for her to escape from such a terrifying attack. In the end, the figure was shattered. Then, an amulet was shattered, and Yuji was killed. Looking at the casual Chao Jiaren, Han Fei was lost for words. Everyone in the Chao family was like this. To kill 2 half-mermaids and half-mermaids, she threw out 3 ancient jades in a row. Han Fei immediately jumped out and said to Chao Jiaren telepathically, "Keep this person for me. She may be useful." Naturally, Yuji wasn't dead. After returning to the 10,000 Demon Valley, she must have replenished her immortal seals. The weird golden figure just now must have been a technique that she had just acquired. Chao Jiaren suddenly said, "When did I say you could go?" Suddenly, hundreds of knives and swords came at him overwhelmingly. Han Fei was lost for words. It seemed that Chao Jiaren didn't trust him. But why? He had almost wiped out an entire team by helping her. However, Han Fei suddenly grinned and activated the sea racing art with the 64-dimensional fish dragon dance, rushing over against the torrent of knives and swords. Immediately, an armorist cursed, "Son of a bitch, why is he so fierce?" As soon as Yuji's figure came out, Han Fei grabbed her with one hand and continued to rush out. Although thousands of vines flew over, Han Fei stretched out his hand and launched a terrifying fist mark, directly blasting all the vines within a kilometer into pieces. This was not the sacrificing punch, but Han Fei deliberately wrapped it with the art of invincibility and blasted it out. So, in a sense, this was the art of invincibility. Seeing that Han Fei was rushing away, a hunter had just appeared, but Chao Jiaren stopped him. "Don't chase him." At this moment, Yu Bing was still fighting with a soul warrior. However, as he fought, he found that the illusion disappeared. Around him, 9 people surrounded him. Yu Bing. From the beginning to the end, Yu Bing, who didn't know what was going on, simply thought that he had been ambushed. He suddenly raised his head and burst out a siren scream. Yu Bing regretted his death. It was all Yu Hun's fault. Han Fei said that he would chase the human beings, but you dodged him. You killed me. I don't want to die. Chao Jiaren looked calm. There was no telling what was on her mind. Someone asked, "Captain, who was the ugly inferior man-fish just now? Why didn't you attack him just now?" Someone was confused. How can an inferior man-fish be so strong? He's even stronger than the half-mermaid heavenly talents. Someone was confused. He attacked his companion just now. Why? Chao Jiaren said casually, "He's not an inferior man-fish, but an azure sea blue demon. He said that he's an undercover agent for human beings." Huh? An undercover agent? What? We can turn sea demons into undercover agents? Hiss. So, it was this guy who lured a bunch of sea demons here. But why did he save the female half-mermaid in the end? Someone analyzed whether or not he's an undercover agent. Did you notice? There were only 5 people in the battle, and 2 of them didn't have immortal seals. However, the last few were indeed very strong. I'm afraid we're no match for them if we fight them one-on-one. Chao Jiaran said casually, don't worry about it. If we have the same goal, we'll meet in the end. That must be the siren scream just now. We need to get out of here as soon as possible. Chao Jiaran looked at the direction where Han Fei left. She had a question. How did this guy know her name? They entered the treasure trove in a hurry and only had 3 days to prepare. If she guessed right, Han Fei and the others should have entered the 10,000 Demon Valley, which was 1,000,000 kilometers away from the Scattered Stars Island. Could it be that someone had informed human leaders 1,000,000 kilometers away in some way? That didn't make sense. Even if someone wanted to inform them, someone should have told them that there were human spies in the 10,000 Demon Valley. Azure Sea Blue Demon, interesting. Han Fei didn't stop until he dragged Yu Ji more than 50 kilometers away. Yu Ji looked at Han Fei in astonishment. Weren't you affected by the illusion? Han Fei glanced at her. You broke the illusion. Human beings are really strong. Well, very strong. Yu Ji frowned and looked at Han Fei in astonishment. Where are the others? Han Fei said expressionlessly. Yuing turned into a shadow and disappeared. I don't know about the others. As soon as I woke up, I saw Yuing disappear and you were killed. While all their attention was on you, I broke free. As soon as you appeared, I took you away. Yu Ji felt that she hated this kind of illusion very much. This was the second time. She also hated the insidiousness and cunning of human beings. Even her sea god's arrival was shattered. It could be seen how terrifying human heavenly talents were. Han Fei pretended to cough up blood and spat out a mouthful of blood. Yu Ji was stunned. Are you injured? Han Fei bared his teeth and grunted. How did you break the illusion? What's that golden giant? Second. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 787. In fact, Han Fei had seen Yu Ji use this trick in the Coral Dead Land. However, at that time, she didn't arrive, but possessed. But this time, Han Fei saw the power in the eyes of the Golden Phantom. If Chao Jiaran hadn't used the fist mark of the Chao family twice, the human side wouldn't have gained much. Yu Ji was silent for a while. A top-level secret method. Han Fei asked, can you teach me? Han Fei just asked casually. That thing was indeed a bit strong, but he didn't know what its side effects were. However, in any case, if he could trick it, it would be his trump card. Yu Ji shook her head. No. Han Fei didn't insist. I saved you once, so I've paid you back. Yu Ji frowned. Okay. Although the loss was too big this time, as long as Yuing is alive, I don't need to worry. However, I don't understand why the human beings knew we would go there. And they even set a trap in advance. Han Fei shook his head. I don't know. One of the human beings is very strong, and his perception range may be extremely terrifying. Yu Ji took a breath. To be able to arrange the deployment in advance, he must have sensed us from at least 50 kilometers away from us. Even ordinary peak-level hidden fissures may not have such a perception range. Han Fei was surprised. A hidden fissure can't sense 50 kilometers away. Yu Ji nodded. Humans have a visualization technique, but we sea demons have very few, and it's quite difficult to cultivate our soul. Generally, we rely on the 72-floor ancient demon realm in the bottom of the 10,000 demon tower to cultivate. However, we also have our advantages. Although humans have a visualization technique, they lack combat skills such as spiritual attacks, but we have them. Han Fei wondered, can't we snatch it from humans? Yu Ji shook her head. How can anyone carry something as important as a visualization technique with them? Han Fei asked again, can't you break illusions with strong spiritual power? Yu Ji shook her head. Not necessarily. Those who can set up illusions will only have stronger spiritual power. Besides, illusions, like arrays, need to find a weak point. Unless one's Tao heart is abnormally firm, it's usually very difficult to break a brilliant illusion. Han Fei thought, so that's how it is. It seems that I still have a long way to go. However, I'm not afraid. I have the yin-yang divine eyes. When necessary, I should be able to break illusions easily. Han Fei suddenly rose. Okay, let's go our separate ways. Yuji was slightly surprised. Why? There's no difference between two people and one person. It's even more convenient for me to escape alone. Yuji took a deep look at Han Fei. Okay, but killing that withered tree is still your goal. You also don't have to think about hiding and not participating in the later operations. Only Lord Yuhun knew the way out. Now, Lord Yuhun was probably dead. Either we join another team, or we wait for someone else at the withered tree. Han Fei was stunned. He had forgotten this question. When they came, they didn't say how to get out. As for where he came from, he couldn't find it. Even if he found it, it didn't seem to be the exit. Han Fei thought for a moment and nodded. All right. With that, Han Fei chose a random direction and dashed out. After a while, confirming that Yuji didn't follow him, Han Fei grinned. I finally broke up those teams. Although he didn't kill all of them, it was still not bad. Why didn't you kill Yuji? Mainly because Han Fei didn't know whether or not Yuing saw him and Chao Jiaran watching the show. If she did, Yuing would definitely accuse him of being a traitor. But it would be different if he saved Yuji. As for Yuing, he wouldn't be so lucky. But in any case, he had to find a way to kill Yuing first. Relying on his memory, Han Fei chased Yuing to the place where she turned into a shadow. A moment later, Han Fei found that the place was empty. He scanned with his senses and found that the 40-kilometer range was rather empty. Yuing didn't find anything, but he seemed to have found a 100-year tree demon. Han Fei scanned the corner where the 100-year tree demon was, but he didn't find any spiritual fruits. So, he naturally wasn't in the mood to fight. Where did she go? I have to kill her. Han Fei unhurriedly took out a peppermint leaf and stuffed it into his mouth. Then, with a flash between his eyebrows, Little Black and Little White appeared. Han Fei touched Little White's head. Daughter, there was someone here just now. Did you smell her? Find her. Yuing was in the shadow state. Her face was pale, and she had lost half of her strength. However, she couldn't stay here yet. She wondered if the human beings were still nearby. More importantly, she had to spread the news that Yu Fei had betrayed the clan. Otherwise, who knew how many more people would be deceived by him this time? Just now, when she performed the shadow disintegration technique, the last thing she saw was Han Fei and Chao Jiaran standing close to each other. They didn't intend to fight at all. Instead, they watched Yu Bing and the others who were fighting in the field with smiles. At this point, Yuing recalled everything that happened before. Why did the human beings set up an ambush? Why did Han Fei choose this path? Also, although the 1,000-year tree demon was killed by Yu Fei, he was the one who said that he smelled it. If he hadn't said that, Lord Yuhun wouldn't have sensed the meadow at all. But why did Yu Fei betray the clan? That was what Yuing couldn't figure out. Yu Fei was an azure sea blue demon. How could he win the trust of human beings? Also, Yu Fei was brought back by Yu Ji, but Yu Ji was fighting too. Or was it just a ruse? Were Yu Ji and Yu Fei acting? At this moment, Yu Ying's head was muddled. Did Yu Ji betray the clan too? Yuing was horrified. It would be fine if Yu Fei betrayed the clan. Although the 10,000 Demon Valley praised Yu Fei, it was said that Yu Fei wouldn't stay in the 10,000 Demon Valley. So, they didn't give him many gifts, not even a semi-divine weapon. But if Yu betrayed the clan, it would be a big deal. Yu was Yubachin's disciple and knew too many secrets about the 10,000 Demon Valley. All of a sudden, Ewing remembered that her weapon shop was robbed. In total, 6 weapon shops had been robbed twice. The first time was still alright, as only materials and spirit spring water had been stolen. The last time, even the divine artifact refining platform was stolen. All of this happened after Yu Fei came. But how could Yu Fei do that? Also, Yu Fei wasn't there at that time. Instantly, Ewing panicked. Yu betrayed the clan too. Han Fei had always thought that he had been exposed. Little did he know that Yu Ying's deduction was that Yu betrayed the clan. If he knew that, he definitely wouldn't have chased her. That was Yu's business. What did it have to do with him? At this moment, Han Fei chased all the way. Little White wasn't slow, so Ewing couldn't have gone far. As long as she entered his perception range, she wouldn't be able to run away. It only took about half an hour for Han Fei to perceive a shadow in his perception. Immediately, he was overjoyed. To avoid alerting the enemy, Han Fei stopped. This Ewing was very good at escaping. What if she ran away again if he went over rashly? Immediately, Han Fei summoned the Overlord in his mind. He split a wisp of his soul with the soul-splitting technique and gave it to the Overlord. Little Black and the Overlord left quietly. In the bracelet, Shu Shan, who rarely spoke, suddenly said, "I'm curious. You seem to have some secrets. You seem to have a spectral contractual spiritual beast." Han Fei knew that Little Black couldn't hide it from Shu Shan, so he didn't deny or answer and simply let the Overlord be swallowed into Little Black's mouth. Shu Shan said awkwardly, "However, I can't use it in front of experts. I can vaguely sense it. If I were at my peak, I would have been able to detect it." Han Fei was rather speechless. That's because Little Black's level wasn't high. Otherwise, no one would be able to detect it if they weren't paying attention. Ewing was recovering. After swallowing 3 spiritual fruits in a row, she would be able to recover 80% of her strength in a moment. Then, her safety would be guaranteed. Ewing was finally reassured after sensing again. It's good that no one is chasing us. Yu and Yu Fei must die. All of a sudden, Ewing sensed the air of death, and a terrifying sense of crisis came to her heart. Not good. Crack. Yu Ying's neck was bitten off. Then, a brawny man in full armor appeared and smashed Yu Ying's head with a rusty stick. It had nothing to do with whether or not she had a semi-divine weapon. Who could have predicted that a crisis would come so suddenly? After the successful attack, Han Fei's true body had already dashed away. At the same time, he stepped on Yu Ying's golden battle suit under his feet. The immortal seal could save people, but it couldn't take away the semi-divine weapons. However, if Ewing was too close, she could simply store the semi-divine weapons into her body. The Overlord simply stood there, waiting for Ewing to show up. 1 second. 2 seconds. Before the second was over, Ewing showed up. Once again, she felt a terrifying sense of crisis. She immediately turned into a shadow, and hundreds of shadows scattered in all directions. Han Fei was indeed stunned when the 100 shadows escaped. The Overlord wasn't himself and couldn't see them clearly. However, Little Black chased after one of them. Han Fei's eyes immediately glittered. "Hey! I didn't know until today that Little Black can see through clones. Awesome!" Ewing was stunned too. Her true body was seen through. Han Fei quickly dashed over with a golden harpoon in his hand and a sneer on his face. Everything would be fine as long as Ewing was killed. After only 10 seconds, a streak of light rose from the bottom of the sea, and the terrifying power made the algae sword leaves on its way back. Ewing saw Han Fei and immediately understood everything. "Yu Fei, you colluded with human beings." Hiu. Seeing that it was too late to dodge, Ewing charged back with white flames on her body. Bam! Ewing rolled hundreds of meters on the ground. It was a shame that there were no 100-year tree demons nearby, or they would have stabbed her. Pooh! Ewing vomited a mouthful of blood and changed her expression. What a strong power! Have you been hiding your strength? The third chapter. Asking for votes. 3 chapters today, all of which are more than 3,000 words. I'll live stream it at 7 in the evening. Well, I'll live stream it once a week. End of this chapter. Chapter 788. After learning how to split spiritual energy, Han Fei was much stronger than Ewing, as evidenced by the fact that he punched through the spiritual plants of the 3 manipulators. Han Fei grinned and bared his teeth. You know too much. Little Black had already jumped up, and Ewing moved sideways at the moment of danger as fast as a blurred shadow. She had lost her semi-divine weapon, and she didn't dare to take it back. At this moment, a shadow flashed between Yu Ying's eyebrows, and a shadow scorpion appeared. Then, the shadow scorpion turned into a half-mermaid identical to Yu Ying. Both of them donned a set of supreme-grade battle suits and a layer of shadow barrier at the same time. At this moment, the Overlord was already standing behind Yu Ying. Han Fei walked close with the golden harpoon and chuckled. I only have one question for you. If you answer it, you can live. If you can't, you must die. Ewing glanced back, only to find that the invisible danger didn't come to her again. Ewing took a deep breath. What's the question? Han Fei smiled. Qixue Huan asked me to find a golden fruit. What is it? Don't say that you don't know. You only have one chance. If my guess is correct, the fruit is so important that most people know about it, especially those who are talented and strong like you. Yu Ying's heart trembled in the shadow. I won't live either if I tell you. Han Fei chuckled. If you say that I'm a traitor, so be it. I'm not going back to the 10,000 Demon Valley. It doesn't matter if I kill you or not. You can take the gamble. Ewing looked at Han Fei in shock. You're going to take the channel on the human side? Han Fei tilted his head. I'll give you 3 seconds to consider. 3. 2. Before Han Fei shouted, Ewing had already said, the heritage dredging fruit is a fruit that can improve one's demon heritage. Hiss. Han Fei gasped hard. Was there such a thing in this world? He had a heritage-stealing fruit that was almost unbelievable, but he couldn't use it right now. What about the heritage dredging fruit? Han Fei narrowed his eyes. What's the effect? Ewing shook her head. Who knows what's in the legends? Han Fei was surprised. How do you know such an important thing? What if someone finds you and eats you if your spiritual heritage can be improved? Ewing shook her head. Of course not. Lord Bluefeather knows the level of our demonic heritage. Who would dare to eat it? You don't need it at all. You're a growth-type spirit vein, so it doesn't matter whether you eat it or not. Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. I see. All of a sudden, Shu Shan said from the bracelet, a spirit vein that can raise one's cultivation level by an entire grade. However, the vein dredging fruits here should have been plucked in my time. Don't tell me they're growing again. Old man, you know it too. Shu Shan said angrily, what old man, call me big brother, I'm still young. Han Fei curled his lips. That's good. I don't know how many years have passed since your time. It must have grown. Otherwise, why would those people from the 10,000 Demon Valley rob it? Shu Shan, humph. Are you going to let this woman go? Release? Han Fei said to Ewing, let's go. Han Fei activated the majestic mystic spell and punched again. He didn't want Ewing to break into shadows again and run away. Ewing burst into fury. Shameless. A terrifying power locked onto Ewing. Faced with such a terrifying power, Ewing instantly roared, Sea God's possession. Han Fei chuckled. It wouldn't be a big deal if it were Yuji's Sea God's possession. He had seen the Sea God's possession before, and it was nothing to be scared of. Boom. After punching, Han Fei took out a cluster of candle dragon blood and stuffed it into his mouth. The Overlord had already stopped another Yuing. Han Fei's fist mark turned golden. Although it was less powerful, it lasted longer. After only 10 seconds, Yuing was already covered in blood. Han Fei slightly raised his eyebrows. I'm really curious about you tough guys. I didn't notice when you swapped lives with your companion spirit. Puchi. A large area of void chains suddenly appeared below Yu Ying's feet, followed by Little Black's bite, the Overlord's stick, and Han Fei's art of invincibility. However tough Yuing was, she was pierced through on the spot. Suddenly, Han Fei sensed that a team of 9 sea demons was approaching from 40 kilometers away. Huh? Han Fei frowned. How did they come so fast? Han Fei stood still. He was waiting. 1 second passed. 2 seconds passed. When Yuing came out of the void and launched another sacrificing punch, the team of sea demons had at least 10 seconds left. Han Fei wasn't panicked at all. Disintegrate. Han Fei's pupils constricted. Could this guy turn into shadow fragments? Freeze. A voice came from the bracelet, and Yu Ying's half-disintegrated shadow was frozen in midair. Boom. Enveloped by the sacrificing punch, Han Fei recalled Little Black, Little White, the 9-tailed mantis shrimp, and the Overlord and was about to leave. Thank you, old man. Han Fei was rather surprised. This old man had been dead for so many years, but he was still so strong. He stopped just like that. Was he trying to intimidate him? Yes, he must be intimidating him. When Han Fei was about to leave, he discovered that a glowing bone floated out of the place where Yuing died. Han Fei quickly held it in his hand. A string of information popped up in his eyes. Name: a bone transformation spiritual lamp. Introduction: refined from the bone of the giant deep-sea demon, it is a godly weapon with a directional nature. Wherever the spirit lamp shines, creatures below level 50 will melt within 3 breaths. Creatures above level 50 will melt within 10 breaths. Creatures above level 60 will melt within 100 breaths. Creatures above level 70 will melt within 100 breaths. Quality: a mid-quality divine weapon. Usage: a once unrecastable, unrefined. A note: all creatures within the range of the spiritual lamp will be significantly slowed down. Hiss. Han Fei gasped. What the hell is this? A mid-quality divine weapon? Yuing was at the peak of the demon transformation state. Why did she carry a mid-quality divine weapon? Unfortunately, Han Fei had no time to think and could only slip away. Dozens of seconds passed. Someone found Yu Ying's broken body. It was broken, but it was still recognizable. The leader's expression changed. It's Yu Ying. Something happened to Yu Hun's team. Someone exclaimed, how is it possible? That team is very strong. Lord Yu Hun, Yu Ji, Yu Ying, and Yu Fei. The leader said angrily, we were only 10 seconds late. The water is still surging. Go after them. Han Fei pondered for a moment. There were too many people in this team. It wouldn't be appropriate to lure them to Chao Jiaren's side. He was studying the bone transformation spiritual lamp, which was too horrifying. It meant that he would be killed in 3 seconds if he was illuminated by it. How horrifying was that? Something big must be going on if they're carrying a divine weapon. Is it to kill the leafless tree? It must be. Qi Shuahuan said that he didn't need to participate in the killing of the leafless tree. It seems that he's prepared. Han Fei's eyes flashed. Since Yuing carried a divine weapon, did the other teams carry divine weapons too? Sensing that the sea demons were moving away from him, Han Fei didn't plan to trap them anymore. Chao Jiaren's team was obviously made of 10 people, and so was his team. Their combat power was about the same. Besides, Chao Jiaren's team had just been through a battle, and it was possible that they hadn't recovered yet. Forget it. Let's just go. Half a day later. Han Fei smashed a 100-year tree demon with a punch and retracted the void chain. Han Fei dug out a spiritual fruit in an arched coral cave, which could increase his strength by 20,000 kilograms, and swallowed it. Han Fei said to the sea, "Old man, which sea area is this place connected to? And what is that withered tree? What are the benefits of killing it or saving it?" The bracelet was silent for a long time. "Would you believe me if I told you that I don't know?" Han Fei rolled his eyes. "Of course not. You've lived for such a long time, but you've never been here before." Shu Shan said, "When you first saw me, it was because I was here to provide support. I wasn't originally here. So I don't know the secrets of this place, but I've heard about it. For example, I know the heritage dredging fruit. As for where it leads, I'm not sure." Han Fei nodded. "Can you guess?" Shu Shan was helpless. "How can I guess?" "Well, it seems possible. First of all, that withered tree is definitely not a 10,000-year tree demon. I've seen a real 10,000-year tree demon. A 10,000-year tree demon whose strength is not suppressed is as strong as me. Since both sides are fighting for the withered tree, it should be the key to open the passage. If I guess, the passage may lead to a vast expanse of demonic plants with unknown dangers." "Huh. Old man, you've even seen a 10,000-year tree demon. Have you ever been to a demonic plant forest?" Shu Shan said leisurely, "Human beings once fought side by side with a race, which was the demonic plants. But later, human beings and demonic plants also fought, which was a secret in my time. Now, human beings are weak and have no chance to cooperate with demonic plants." Han Fei asked in surprise, "Human beings have cooperated with demonic plants?" Shu Shan snorted. "Human beings and sea demons have even intermarried. Is there a problem with cooperating with demonic plants?" Han Fei was silent for a long time, his eyes unfocused. "Well, have human beings intermarried with demonic plants?" Shu Shan seemed to think about it seriously, and finally said leisurely, "How can a tree sleep?" Han Fei asked, "Doesn't a fish sleep?" Shu Shan was silent again. "You do have a point." Han Fei touched Little White's head and said, "Let's go, daughter. Let's continue to hunt for treasures." One day later, Han Fei got 11 spiritual fruits. He was really amazed that this place was simply a spiritual fruit plantation. Han Fei wished he could live here for a year. Of course, it was definitely not that easy. During this period, Han Fei encountered 2 human teams, which he avoided. He also encountered a sea demon team, which he avoided too. This time, Little White suddenly rushed to a place. Han Fei chased Little White for a while, and his eyes widened. It seemed to be a spiritual fruit orchard. In his perception, there were 3 spiritual fruits. Of course, he also found a few 100-year tree demons. After swimming another 10 kilometers, Han Fei stopped. More than 40 people were fighting fiercely, and among them, there were even 1,000-year tree demons. So many people. However, when Han Fei glanced at them, he immediately beamed with joy. Luo Xiaobai. Lu Renquang. However, before Han Fei was overjoyed, he found that human beings were in a disadvantageous position in terms of numbers. According to the division, human beings only had 2 groups, and now there were 17 people left. There were 3 groups of sea demons, and now there were 26 of them. There were 9 more people. Han Fei immediately frowned. "Old man, are you going to take action or not?" The bracelet vibrated. "I can't. When I helped you freeze that sea demon, the 500 kilograms of spirit awakening fluid you gave me was almost used up." Han Fei rolled his eyes. "Human beings are in a disadvantageous position, and you're not going to take action?" Shu Shan scoffed. "You hid your strength. If you take action, you can fight 5 or 6 of them alone." Han Fei, first update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 789. Since Shu Shan didn't want to fight, Han Fei couldn't do anything. If Han Fei fought like this, he might be beaten by both sides as soon as he showed up. However, since Luo Xiaobai and Lu Rinquang were here, he could have a showdown with them, but he had to choose the right time. At this moment, the overwhelming vines almost turned this place into a seaweed wall. On the human side, except for Luo Xiaobai, Lu Rinquang, Yi Baiyu, and Chu Sun from the Grand Void Academy, Han Fei only knew 4 people. This meant that he should know many of the people who came this time. Yi Baiyu's speed was so fast that he flashed like a white stream of light in the dark bottom of the sea. Chu Sun was surrounded by swords. Han Fei still remembered his Grand Void sword art, which was a sea of swords. At this moment, he was locked in battle with a sea demon. 2,000-year tree demons drilled into the ground from time to time. A sea demon was blasted to the ground, and immediately the 1,000-year demon's sting burst out, directly stabbing the sea demon into a sieve. Han Fei glanced at Luo Xiaobai, who was protected by Lu Rinquang and a group of armorists, controlling as many as 12 kinds of marine creatures. As a result, this chaotic battlefield was filled with all sorts of colors. There were pollen shining with silver light, cordyceps like water snakes, and flowers with huge food sacs. Beside Luo Xiaobai, there were 5 manipulators. The 6 of them held up at least half of the sea demon's combat power. Han Fei scratched his head. Now, the 2 sides seemed to be fighting fiercely. However, they hadn't launched a killing move yet. Besides, they all had immortal seals. No matter how he counted, it was equivalent to more than 80 people fighting. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, "Old man, the immortal seals are so annoying. Can't they be broken?" Shu Shan nodded. "Yes, if you become a hidden fisher, you can blast into the void and kill them without waiting for them to come out." Han Fei said irritably, "That's too early." Shu Shan thought for a while and suddenly said, "By the way, I think some of these people are not bad and have good physiques. When they die, can you bring me their corpses?" Han Fei said with a black face, "Brother, I'm alive and well. Why are you cursing me to die?" Shu Shan said, "I've thought about it. That puppet of yours definitely won't work. Splitting one's divine soul to attack was basically tantamount to suicide. Although you're powerful fighting alone, you're not strong enough to hold off so many people. Unless you still have a trump card. But at your current level, even if you have a trump card, you won't be able to kill so many people at once. Therefore, when they consume too much spiritual energy, they will die." Han Fei was horrified. The sea demons had never heard of the profession of spirit gatherer. Now they seemed to be in a stalemate. If the demonic chi or spiritual chi in these sea demons were running out, it would be time for them to break out. Besides, the human side seemed to have only 2 spirit gatherers. Maybe the human side would consume spiritual energy faster. Thinking of this, Han Fei made up his mind. Immediately, Han Fei moved forward more than 10 kilometers. Through the perception of plants, Luo Xiaobai's reaction distance should be about 20 kilometers. However, that was more than half a year ago. It should be 30 li by now, right? However, Luo Xiaobai was fully focused on the battle at this moment, and Han Fei didn't know how much she could perceive now. Han Fei immediately said to her via voice transmission, "Xiaobai, I'm Han Fei." Luo Xiaobai was in an absolutely calm state at this moment. She didn't expect to encounter 3 teams of sea demons. In the first confrontation, both sides had casualties. Because of her divine manipulator skills and her ability to control the 1,000-year tree demon, she killed 6 sea demons at the beginning, but on the human side, 3 were also killed. In her opinion, it was not a good deal. At this moment, more than half of the spiritual energy in their bodies had been consumed, and the spirit gatherers couldn't keep up. This was also the reason why the sea demons didn't break out. The other side was waiting for the human side to run out of spiritual energy and then suddenly break out. After all, the other side had far more people than the human side. Lu Rinquang suggested, "Xiaobai, how about we break out? I can easily absorb 3 half-mermaids with the sky-swallowing technique. How about killing a few first? Yi Baiyu rushed back and said to Luo Xiaobai via voice transmission, when should we do it? If I keep running like this, I won't be able to hold on much longer. I have to take care of several sides on my own. Luo Xiaobai said expressionlessly, wait for me for a while. I'm accumulating strength. Chu Sun also had a headache. I can't hold on much longer. Now, I still have enough spiritual energy. It shouldn't be a problem for me to kill 2 or 3 of them with my strongest move. Someone was speechless. You killed 2 or 3 immortal seals. You killed them, but they came out again. The result is the same. The manipulators were all pale. A spirit gatherer was providing them with spiritual energy. At this moment, the spirit gatherer couldn't hold on much longer. Captain, can you kill them with your ultimate move? Luo Xiaobai nodded. I'll send the 2,000-year tree demons out later. At this moment, a voice sounded in Luo Xiaobai's head, Xiaobai, I'm Han Fei. Hum. A large swath of vines exploded. Luo Xiaobai lost her balance, and a large swath of vines collapsed. On the sea demon's side, someone grinned and laughed. Human beings can't hold on much longer. Don't rush to take action. The longer we delay, the better it will be for us. Once that manipulator collapses, it will be time for us to take action. Han Fei asked, Xiaobai, can you sense where I am? I'm about 30 kilometers away from you. Now I look like an inferior manfish. After the excitement, Luo Xiaobai glanced at him. I can sense it. How can you prove that you are Han Fei? Han Fei said without hesitation, the 5 of us explored the cave in the back mountain of the academy together, and then we fainted. We also went to explore teacher Xiao Zhan's secrets, and then we were hung up and flew into the air. Luo Xiaobai suddenly blushed and her breath fluctuated. Lu Renquan glanced at Luo Xiaobai. What's wrong? Can't you hold on any longer? If you can't, I'll rush out and kill them. Luo Xiaobai nodded. I'm fine. Luo Xiaobai saw Han Fei's appearance through the spiritual plant and immediately asked, how did you become a sea demon? Where's Xiao Chan? Han Fei quickly said, don't worry about it. Xia Xiao Chan is not dead, and neither am I. But my life tablet may be broken. I have an enhanced version of Poison God here, 10 kilograms. You can have it all. You can crush it among them. I'll give you the antidote too. You have to hold on for 20 seconds before you launch a full-scale attack. Han Fei immediately took out a bottle of enhanced version of Poison God and a bottle of antidote on the ground. 2 vines extended from the ground and dragged the 2 bottles into the ground. After receiving the bottles, Luo Xiaobai spoke to everybody telepathically, everybody, pay attention. Han Fei did not dare to make too much noise. Yu Hun's perception range was about 20 kilometers when his level was suppressed, but some people had a perception range higher than his. Luo Xiaobai, for example, had a perception range of 30 kilometers. However, their attention was not on him at this moment. Also, Han Fei had cast a concealment array and a breath-concealing array on himself. It was too late for him to turn into a human being. He could only appear as an inferior manfish. However, Han Fei didn't know whether or not he should return to the 10,000 Demon Valley yet. Also, if he went out just like that, human beings would see that he was an inferior manfish and then turn into Han Fei. He would be imprisoned for the rest of his life in the Scattered Stars prison. It was hard for him to explain. It was not a question of whether or not he could help, but why he could turn into a fish. The Thousand-Star City would never allow the fish transformation technique to appear again. In the bracelet, Shu Shan asked in surprise, do you know someone here? Let me guess. Is it the girl who is the strongest manipulator? TSK, your perception range is more than 30 kilometers. Not bad. Han Fei said gloomily, don't talk now. Help me when it's time. If you can loot the spirit awakening fluid from those half-mermaids, you can have it all. Shu Shan snorted. Why did they bring the spirit awakening fluid when they came in? However, the life stones work on me. Some of them used to be experts at the peak of the sea demon realm, right? 3 teams can have 3 life stones. If you can get the life stones, I can help you once. Han Fei was overjoyed. Kill them all? Pooh! The bracelet shivered. Get lost. I can help you kill 5 of them, the kind that can kill them directly without using the immortal seal. Deal. You can attack first. Shu Shan asked, why? Han Fei said, I have a backup plan. Wouldn't it be a great loss if we hit them too hard? Okay. Luo Xiaobai said, everyone, prepare to attack in 10 seconds. Remember, hold my vines one by one and take the antidote. Lu Rinquang said in surprise, Xiaobai, wait, why do you have poison god? I remember that Chao Jiaran took all of Chao Qiu's poison god. Is Chao Jiaran here? Luo Xiaobai said, don't talk nonsense. Take the antidote first. I'll explain to you later. 10 seconds passed in a flash. Luo Xiaobai suddenly shouted, everyone, swallow the spiritual fruit and attack with all your strength. No need to hold back. Luo Xiaobai put on a faint smile and pointed her finger in the air. Deep blue, sea covering vine. Second. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 790. As Luo Xiaobai attacked, all her spiritual energy was exhausted, and a massive number of blue flower buds suddenly bloomed within 2,000 meters. Yi Baiyu roared, use all your secret techniques. Aurora sword slash. Sound waves burst out of Chu Sun's mouth. 6 styles of Grand Void, the 4th style, sword hanging sky waterfall. Lu Rinquang took out all his ultra-quality spiritual weapons. Torrents of knives and swords, violent war body, sky-swallowing technique. In an instant, the sky was full of light and shadows, and a weird blue color swept across the sea. In the sky, all the sword shadows fell like rain. A sword light rushed through the crowd like a shadow, and none of the attacks could hit him. A dark big hole directly froze the 3 of them. No one dared to approach Lu Rinquang. The sea demons suddenly changed their expressions. The humans can't wait to attack. Everyone, attack with all your strength. Sea King's secret technique. More than 30 half-mermaids burst into white flames at the same time, and 13 sets of golden battle suits and 7 water giants appeared in the crowd. After a round of attacks, a total of 16 sea demons and humans were killed, and then they walked out of the void again. One by one, they walked out of the void again with the immortal seal. After about 2 minutes, a half-mermaid's face suddenly changed. Not good, it's poisoned. Take anti-poison fruits and antidotes. Han Fei frowned. Why didn't he know there was antidote? No one gave it to him. Fuck, the 10,000 Demon Valley is treating me as a friend. Other people have antidotes, but I don't. In fact, Han Fei was wrong about them. If he hadn't been staring at the weapon shop, he would have found that some grocery stores in the canyon of the 10,000 Demon Valley sold antidotes. However, could an antidote block 10 kilograms of God of Poison? Except for the 13 guys in golden battle suits, the strength of half of the people suddenly plummeted. Han Fei quickly asked, Old man, when are you going to attack? Shu Shan shrugged. Don't panic. Young people are always impatient. If you want to win, you have to kill them all at once. You can't show up now. Send your puppet over later. You and your contractual spiritual beast will ambush those who escape. Han Fei gritted his teeth. Fine. With a thought, the Overlord appeared beside him and put the universe bracelet on the Overlord's hand. Han Fei's face was slightly twisted, full of pain, and a blue soul fire disappeared into the Overlord's eyes. Little Black opened its mouth and the Overlord jumped into it. A white spirit-swallowing fish was swimming leisurely at the bottom of the sea full of plants. And it was swimming in the direction of the battlefield. When Little White was within 20 miles of the battlefield, someone had already noticed it. A half-mermaid expert was slightly stunned. A spirit-swallowing fish? Why would there be spirit-swallowing fish in such a place? Some people found it strange that this spirit-swallowing fish seemed a little different. It was much more beautiful and exquisite than ordinary spirit-swallowing fish. Its white, translucent fins and long tail made this spirit-swallowing fish look especially sacred. Little White swam very fast. When it was 5 kilometers away, many people's senses scanned the area crazily. They felt it was unreasonable for a spirit-swallowing fish to appear here. However, because he didn't sense anyone or any other living beings, the battle didn't stop. When Lu Renkuang perceived the little fish, his eyes widened. Little White? At that moment, Lu Renkuang felt as if he had been struck by lightning, and the sky-swallowing technique showed signs of collapsing. Luo Xiaobai scolded him via voice transmission, "Don't be distracted. I'll explain to you later." Lu Renkuang seemed to have taken a tonic. Suddenly, he was in high spirits and his momentum soared. There was a cracking sound above his head. This guy had made a breakthrough. The sea demons roared crazily, "Human beings are just struggling. They can't hold on for long. Their spiritual energy will be exhausted in 5 minutes at most, and we will usher in the dawn of victory. The glory will be ours." For a moment, both sides were even more excited. 5 or 6 heavenly talents with semi-divine suits had even begun to summon the Sea King's possession. Their terrifying power was no worse than that of the human side. However, being poisoned was being poisoned. Could they last for 20 breaths of time? Suddenly, a full moon scimitar condensed in front of a human heavenly talent. This scimitar shone like moonlight, trembled and hummed, and suddenly appeared above a sea demon's head. Chilla! The full moon scimitar fell, and the sea demon was instantly killed. At the same time, the human beings around all retreated, and an armorist took out a dark red shield in case of the enemy's dying strike. Boom! The armorist was blown away and crushed hundreds of meters on the bottom of the sea. Vomiting blood, he grinned. Ha ha ha! My divine martial shield is truly the strongest defense. This was the first sea demon to die. He no longer had an immortal seal, but his dying strike still worried Luo Xiaobai. Luo Xiaobai suddenly roared, "Everybody, retreat, Hu! Get the hell back! I'll chop you stinky fish and shrimps to death." A series of tyrannical bombardments quickly divided the two sides of the battlefield. The sea demon expert roared, "Everybody, human beings want to delay us. Those who still have immortal seals, let's launch a desperate attack and unleash your strongest power." However, all of a sudden, a towering giant walked out of the void. He was armed to the eyes with a bright red armor that was engraved with complicated array patterns. The towering giant carried a big shield in his left hand and an icy blue giant sword in his left. He looked so creepy and creepy. The sea demons were appalled. They didn't know where this man came from. Did he appear out of thin air? The human beings were also stunned. How could there be such a person who came in with us? Was there someone in this treasure trove? However, his appearance was too intimidating, wasn't it? He was like a king from the darkness who had just walked out of the abyss. Someone asked in shock, "Who is this? Is there any backup plan on our side?" Someone's eyes widened. He jumped out of the void. Could it be that a human expert tore open a void channel and came in from the outside? Lu Renkuang looked at the guy who suddenly appeared, dumbfounded. Then he looked at Xiaobai not far away, his heart surging. Even Luo Xiaobai was very surprised. What on earth did Han Fei experience outside? On the sea demon's side, a captain shouted, "2 heavenly talents, use the Sea King's possession to stop this man." Immediately, 2 heavenly talents swooped over despite the poison god. They even launched the sea god strike. The seawater was torn apart, causing 2 terrifying sonic booms. Then, the two of them added golden phantoms to themselves, trying to kill the Overlord in one fell swoop. Someone exclaimed, "Dodge. That's the sea demon's most powerful attack. You can't take it head-on." Someone hurriedly said, "Brother, come here." The Overlord raised his feet and took a small step forward. An overwhelming sword shadow suddenly burst out of the half-mermaid Heavenly Talent's body. Bam! The half-mermaid Heavenly Talent exploded, leaving only a broken skeleton. The other half-mermaid Heavenly Talent was horrified. What the hell? I didn't see this man attack. However, at this time, he had already exerted his speed to the extreme, and it was impossible for him to retreat. He thought to himself, I still have the immortal seal. I still have a chance. The Overlord raised his feet again, covering dozens of meters with each step, and hadn't yet raised the frost sword in his hand. However, the half-mermaid Heavenly Talent's body burst out again. With a bang, this prodigy's body also exploded. Shoot! Oh my god, are my eyes deceiving me? So strong. Is it really the Scattered Stars Island that has arrived? Cool, if only I can do the same. On the human side, they were inexplicably shocked and delighted. They were shocked that the Scattered Stars Island had a hidden trump card that was ridiculously strong. On the sea demon's side, countless people were horrified. Someone shouted, "A strong master has arrived. Run!" However, vines were growing all around. Besides, they were already very close to the Overlord. How could they escape? All of a sudden, 3 half-mermaid Heavenly Talents with golden fighting intent burst out of their bodies at the same time and exploded. A sense of desperation rose in the hearts of these half-mermaid Heavenly Talents. How the hell could they fight? It's true that we're Heavenly Talents. Facing these human Heavenly Talents, we're not scared at all, but where did this ferocious man come from? In the blink of an eye, 5 top Heavenly Talents exploded and died. Run! The moment the Overlord appeared, Luo Xiaobai had already said, "Spirit gatherers, give all your spiritual energy to manipulators." At this moment, Luo Xiaobai vomited a mouthful of blood and said with difficulty, "Deep blue forbidden." An invisible barrier sealed this place. When the sea demons were about to flee in horror, the Overlord finally waved his giant sword. Swish! The seawater was frozen, and the 100-meter-long sword instantly traversed more than 800 meters. The 7 half-mermaids along the way, including 2 Heavenly Talents, were instantly turned into frozen pieces, not even leaving a speck of dust. Hiss! Horror, fear, and desperation struck the hearts of all the sea demons almost instantly. How the hell were they going to fight? In an instant, 12 sea demons were killed. 7 people were killed with one sword strike. What kind of expert would be able to do such a thing? On the human side, they all swallowed, all shocked. Even Luo Xiaobai swallowed subconsciously, shocked. Lu Rinquang was dumbfounded. I must be dreaming, right? Run, run. The human masters are coming in. Break through the seal. Let's go. Not good. Why haven't the 5 top Heavenly Talents resurrected yet? Why didn't the effect of the immortal seal work? A captain-level expert scolded harshly, "No, this sword is not as strong as we thought. Don't panic. Let's use Sea God's arrival." While the sea demons were fleeing in panic, the Overlord held Frostmourne with both hands and stabbed it into the ground. Deep blue flames were dancing in his eyes. 2. Go. Yin. Yang. Wheel. 3rd. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 791. Han Fei spoke from a distance. There were a total of 26 sea demons. 1 was killed by the full moon wheel, and there were 25 left. The Overlord killed 12 at once. Among them, the 5 that were killed by Shu Shan had already perished in the void, unable to come back to life. Of the 7 killed by Frostmourne, 5 walked out of the void again. In this way, the number of sea demons decreased sharply, and there were only 18 left. This number was only one more than the human side. If the human side used all their powerful means, they might win, but it would be a Pyrrhic victory. However, Han Fei still underestimated the consumption of Frostmourne. After one strike, 2/3 of the spiritual energy he gave to Frostmourne was consumed, and he couldn't swing the sword again. However, Han Fei didn't panic at all. He had prepared his next move, the Supreme Yin-Yang Wheel. Han Fei had never used this move in front of others before. The only time was when the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers turned into a small Supreme Yin-Yang Wheel in the Undersea City. However, that time was completely different from the real Supreme Yin-Yang Wheel. That was why Han Fei dared to take out this trump card at this moment. Little Black and Little White immediately turned into two mystic lights, one black and one white. When the two mystic lights converged, a rotating Tai Chi Yin-Yang pattern appeared. Swish! Yin and Yang converged, like a magical wheel, falling into the crowd of sea demons that fled in panic. Puff! Han Fei naturally didn't aim at those guys in golden battle suits. He was hunting those ordinary heavenly talents who only wore ultra-quality demonic weapons. Kacha! The demonic artifact broke. It couldn't even block for an instant. A sea monster was cut in half. Puff! 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 After Han Fei killed 4 people in a row, a captain and a heavenly talent among the sea demons suddenly stood up and roared, "Sea God arrives!" In the distance, Han Fei frowned. This move was very powerful. It was a terrifying secret technique that could block the Chow family's fist mark twice. A golden phantom descended and fell on that person. The Supreme Yin-Yang Wheel and the golden phantom were fighting. Flames burned on that guy's body, and the surrounding water temperature rose rapidly. Buzz! Buzz! 3 seconds passed in a row. Han Fei in the distance suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood. Whoosh! Han Fei said in his heart, "Xiao Bai, open a hole in my direction and let 5 people out at most." Han Fei sighed in his heart. Sure enough, Little Black and Little White are not strong enough and not omnipotent. The sea god's descent was simply too powerful. He felt that Little Black and Little White were injured, causing him to suffer a backlash. If he were to forcefully attack, he might be able to kill that genius in the end, but it would definitely not be worth it. The Supreme Yin-Yang Will dissipated, and Little White and Little Black swam to the tyrant's side, where no one dared to approach. On the other side, Luo Xiaobai roared, "Attack! Kill the enemy!" Luo Xiaobai knew that Han Fei had probably reached his limit. Otherwise, according to Han Fei's character, he would have killed all the enemies and left no one alive. But even so, Han Fei still had a trump card. He believed that he could still kill 5 more. However, Luo Xiaobai was unwilling. It didn't matter if others died, but Han Fei couldn't die. Han Fei had done more than enough. Luo Xiaobai pretended to vomit a mouthful of blood. A seal was unstable and a gap was directly broken. In that place, there were only 2 sea demons. Besides, they were not the kind of peerless heavenly talents wearing golden battle suits. The 2 sea demons immediately exclaimed and roared together, "The seal is broken. Let's go from here." As soon as the 2 jumped out of the seal, they saw a touch of blue light and the seal was closed again. The 2 looked at each other in horror and fled quickly without saying a word. They had to spread this news. On the human side, a strong master had come in. All teams had to be careful. In the seal, Luo Xiaobai actually couldn't hold on any longer. She just said to the others via voice transmission, "There are only 13 left here. We have to rely on ourselves. Kill! Kill!" The tyrant couldn't fight anymore. Without the support of spiritual energy, it was just an iron lump. Although the tyrant's eyes were flashing with blue soul fire, he could at most block 1 sea demon at the moment. In order to maintain his sense of mystery and the illusion of power, he didn't attack again. The humans and the sea monsters started fighting again. This time, Han Fei really couldn't stop them. His target had already been the two people who had escaped. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up. Luo Xiaobai let two people out. What does she mean? Are you afraid that I can't beat them? Do you think I've exhausted all my means? The two heavenly talents fled out in horror. One of them said, "It's over, it's over." All of a sudden, the three teams were wiped out. Human beings are too terrifying. This news must be spread. The other person felt his soul trembling. That strong master is invincible. He's definitely a backup plan left by human beings. We were lucky to come out. The others. Just when they rushed out more than 30 kilometers and thought they had escaped, countless black iron-like chains suddenly appeared in the air. 100 meters away from them, a silhouette blocked their way. Yu Fei. Master Yu Fei. Something happened ahead. Wait, what do you want to do? Beside Han Fei, Little Gold tilted his head and looked at the two people. Lightning blade. Sizzle. The terrifying light of the lightning blade drowned the two people in the blink of an eye. They didn't even have a chance to resist. They were drowned in Little Gold's terrifying power. One of them had already used the immortal seal. At this moment, he roared and launched a dying strike. However, Han Fei, wearing a golden battle suit and holding the golden seal in his other hand, slammed down. Although he failed to block it, Han Fei only rolled on the ground for about 10 meters before getting up again. Han Fei stood up and patted his body, his two big eyes flashing on his shoulders. Han Fei's lips curled. Sure enough, with the majestic mystic spell and Little Fatty's resistance, the dying strike is basically useless against me. TSK, I really want to deduce the void fishing art as soon as possible. Han Fei couldn't help turning his head. He wanted to go back with the human beings. However, once he went back, he might not have a chance to go to sea in a short time. He couldn't deduce the void fishing art anymore. Then his strength might not be able to continue to improve. How annoying. When the remaining person walked out of the void, what appeared in front of him was a fist mark. At that moment, he knew what despair was. Dying strike? Why was it called dying strike? Basically, once the immortal seal was destroyed, even if one came out alive, they would most likely die. As for the so-called dying strike, it was more like he wanted to take his opponent down with him. However, in the face of absolute power, was it really possible for them to perish together just because they said so? After killing the two of them easily, Han Fei recalled the nine-tailed mantis shrimp, Little Gold, and Little Fatty and sensed the surroundings, only to find that nobody noticed anything unusual. Only then did he pay attention to Luo Xiaobai. At this moment, humans and sea demons were still fighting. Facing a group of sea monsters that only wanted to escape, facing a group of sea monsters with more than half of their combat power, some of whom were still vomiting and having diarrhea. The human side was extremely unyielding. If not for the three captain-level powerhouses using the sea god's descent technique, all the sea demons would have died. Geniuses were geniuses after all. Not everyone had Xu Shan's terrifying, scalp-numbing battle prowess. Not everyone had terrifying weapons and combat skills like the sea-quelling bizarre treasures or the sun yin-yang wheel. Han Fei saw that the seal had been broken, and Luo Xiaobai's face was pale. She seemed to be seriously injured. Han Fei immediately said to her via voice transmission, "Xiaobai, don't kill the others. Just kill those three. The three captains of the half-mermaids. It's fine to release the others." Luo Xiaobai's response was still so simple and clear. She nodded lightly. Okay. About 5 minutes later, the three captains of the sea demons knew the purpose of the humans. They had to make a choice. This time, they came in with the determination to die. Therefore, the three of them finally chose to give up. However, even so, the three of them still killed two human powerhouses. Only then did this battle come to an end. There were only 7 half-mermaids who escaped. There were 30 of them when they came, but only 7 escaped. Besides, only 2 of the 7 people still had immortal seals. The others' immortal seals had all been exhausted. On the human side, a total of 5 people died, 3 of which were blown to pieces, and 1 was cut off. There was only 1 hunter whose body was relatively intact. At this moment, Han Fei saw a group of people were about to gather around and ask about the Overlord. Immediately, Han Fei raised his hand to stop them and said to everyone via voice transmission, "Recover where you are. Danger is everywhere. Who is the leader? Come over and have a chat." Luo Xiaobai was half sitting on the ground at this moment, her face pale. Yi Baiyu immediately walked out. "Me, senior, who are you?" Han Fei shook his head. "I have nothing to talk to you. You don't look like a qualified captain." "Yi Baiyu?" Han Fei looked at Luo Xiaobai, who pointed at Lu Renquang. "You go." Lu Renquang was already very excited. However, he didn't dare to show the slightest surprise on his face and just hurriedly got up. Han Fei nodded slightly. "Fatty, give me those 2 life fruits. I need them." Yi Baiyu was speechless. "Am I not a qualified captain? This fatty is not even a captain. How can you accept him? That's really annoying." As for why there were 2 life fruits. Because not every Sea Demon Realm powerhouse would leave a life fruit. There was a chance of that. It was already not bad to have 2 life fruits. Vine sent the 2 life fruits to Lu Renquang's hand. Then, under everyone's confused gaze, Lu Renquang and the Overlord walked farther and farther away and finally disappeared from everyone's perception. Someone wondered, "Who is that person?" Someone said lightly, "I'm afraid this senior just doesn't want to show up." Luo Xiaobai said lightly, "Don't talk about it. He must have his reasons for not staying. He should have another mission." Immediately, everyone understood. Yes, this undersea forest was extremely weird. This person hid so well. He must have some top-secret mission. Continue to ask for monthly votes. The plot is progressing quite fast. The next few days should be more exciting. I need your support. Recommendation, monthly votes, official reading, end of this chapter. Chapter 792. When Lu Renquang saw that it was an inferior manfish waiting for him, he was dumbfounded and couldn't believe his eyes. "How? Fei Fei. How did you become this ugly inferior manfish? Just who turned you into this? Tell me. I'll ask senior brother Dushui to kill him." After seeing Han Fei, Lu Renquang came up and howled as if he were crying. Han Fei kicked him. "Don't howl. Look at you. I've been away for so long, but you've only just become an advanced hanging fisher. What the hell have you been doing?" Lu Renquang kept wiping his tears, which made Han Fei's eyelids twitch. However, Han Fei was delighted. Knowing that Han Fei was not dead, although he had become an ugly inferior manfish, Lu Renquang was still very happy. Lu Renquang grinned and said with a silly smile, "I've worked very hard. Besides, I can't make a breakthrough just for the sake of it. I have to lay a solid foundation. Fei Fei, tell me first, how did you become an inferior manfish? Who was that big black guy just now? He was not a human. I saw that he was full of spiritual energy." Han Fei bared his teeth and said grumpily, "That's a semi-divine puppet. Didn't you see that I couldn't attack anymore after only 2 attacks?" Lu Renquang was full of disbelief. "You killed 12 people twice. Especially the first 5, you didn't even use the immortal seal. You must have encountered a great opportunity. But, will you go out with us this time?" Han Fei thought for a moment and shook his head slightly. "No. I want to see if I have been exposed to the sea demons. If possible, I may have to go back." Lu Renquang was stunned. "Why do you want to go back?" Suddenly, an idea popped up in Lu Renkuang's mind, but his expression suddenly became serious. Is your original body dead? So, the life tablet will shatter. Then, did you possess an inferior man-fish? Han Fei rolled his eyes at him and kicked him. What are you thinking? My original body is not dead. Lu Renkuang immediately breathed a sigh of relief. That's good, that's good. Lu Renkuang didn't ask about Han Fei's secret. After saying a few words, his face darkened. Where's Xia Shaochan? Do you have anything to do with the unusual movements in the sky and the sea demon mountains being moved away? Han Fei nodded. However, he didn't want to tell Lu Renkuang about Chen Huangdian, which would put a lot of pressure on them. He hadn't even settled down in the Thousand-Star City yet. It was better not to let them know about what had happened in the Endless Sea Realm. Han Fei said, you don't need to know anything else. Tell Xiao Bai and the rest. Before Han Fei finished speaking, a blue flower appeared on the ground beside him. The flowers bloomed, revealing Luo Xiaobai's figure. Luo Xiaobai's face was still cold. I'm here. Han Fei was stunned for a moment. Then he chuckled and said, you don't have to worry about Xia Shaochan. However, I suspect that what the Thug Academy experienced more than 30 years ago was far more complicated than what Old Bai said. There might be some unknown factors involved in this. What you need to do now is to increase your strength as soon as possible. I have to find a way to become a hidden fisher as soon as possible. Luo Xiaobai nodded casually. Got it. When will you be back? Han Fei thought for a moment. In fact, he didn't want to go to the 10,000 Demon Valley anymore, but he had to find a way out. Should he leave through the channel on the human side? The consequences were unpredictable. If he was sure that it would be fine on the sea demon's side, he would have to find a way to leave through the sea demon's side. If Qixue Huan wanted him dead, he wouldn't have sent him here. After all, most of the heavenly talents of the 10,000 Demon Valley were here. Also, he had 3 agreements with Qixue Huan. As for the heritage dredging fruit, he didn't necessarily need it. However, he still had to find it. If he could keep it, he would keep it. If he couldn't keep it, he could give it to her to gain her trust. Han Fei thought for a moment. It shouldn't take long. I'll go back after I take care of things here. Luo Xiaobai asked, what do you want to tell me? Han Fei thought for a moment. Keep an eye on Yang Ying of the Dark Hunter Legion. If she leaves the Scattered Stars Island and returns to the 36 towns, kill her. If she's still around, just keep an eye on her and wait for me to get back. Hearing this, both Luo Xiaobai and Lu Renkuang were stunned. Lu Renkuang suddenly roared angrily, was it Yang Ying's doing? I killed her, Han Fei pressed Lu Renkuang. I will avenge myself. Don't do anything unless she wants to leave. Luo Xiaobai nodded. Got it. She can't get away. Han Fei thought for a moment. Also, tell Tanggu that I'm still alive. Also, tell him to go to the Twisted Jungle, the location is. Lu Renkuang patted his chest. Rest assured. I saw Tanggu the day before yesterday. Han Fei thought for a moment and asked, do you have any news about the heritage dredging fruit? Lu Renkuang was briefly stunned. The golden fruit? Yes. Luo Xiaobai replied, yes. However, he hadn't found it yet. It was said that finding the 10,000-year tree demon would mean finding the meridian dredging fruit. However, the 10,000-year tree demon knew how to conceal itself. Even the semi-divine battle suit couldn't block its 10,000-year demon sting. If we encounter it, we need to be extremely careful. Han Fei frowned. So, there is only one 10,000-year tree demon here? Luo Xiaobai nodded. That should be the case. Our goal is not the 10,000-year tree demon, but we were told that if we encounter it, we should kill it if we can. Humans are here to protect the leafless tree. Therefore, we must fight the sea demons. Han Fei chuckled. The sea demons are here to kill the leafless tree. By the way, what is this leafless tree? Luo Xiaobai explained, the leafless tree guards the passage. If it is killed, the passage to the demon plant forest will be reopened. However, humans can't guarantee whether the demon plants are still friendly to humans. All in all, we can't open this passage. Luo Xiaobai roughly told him about the demon plants, but she didn't seem to know as much as Xu Shan. Han Fei nodded slightly. Understood. Han Fei smiled. By the way, is there no map? We don't know where the 10,000-year tree demon and the leafless tree are. Luo Xiaobai pondered for a while. According to the 1,000-year tree demon I control, the 10,000-year tree demon doesn't have a fixed position. However, the 10,000-year tree demon also seems to want to leave here. I'm afraid it is also trying to kill the leafless tree. So, if we find the leafless tree, we should be able to find the 10,000-year tree demon. As for where the leafless tree is, we don't know. Suddenly, a vine stretched out from the ground. However, we have a leaf of the leafless tree. Han Fei froze for a moment. No. Wait a minute. Didn't you just say it was leafless? Why is there a leaf? Lu Renquang grinned. It is said that there used to be leaves. Maybe it's all gone because it's too old. Han Fei rolled his eyes and immediately called out Little Black and Little White. Girl, smell it. Where is the old tree? Little White kissed the leaf, turned around for a while, and chose the direction on Han Fei's left. Han Fei immediately smiled. Do you want to lead the team in this direction? Luo Xiaobai shook her head. Not for the time being. After we repair this place, we will continue to hunt sea demons. Otherwise, once we reach the leafless tree, there is no way to retreat. In terms of numbers, we don't have an advantage. Lu Renquang sighed. The sea demons launched an attack on the Scattered Stars Island, forcing us to not have enough people to come in. Han Fei thought for a while. There are no more than 250 sea demons that came in. There are 11 people in a single group, and I killed 9 on my side. On this side, 7 escaped just now, plus those that have died. The current number is definitely less than 200. Lu Renquang sighed. We have a total of 120 people. Han Fei frowned. Didn't they leave any powerful weapons? On the sea demon's side, it seems that some of them have been taught the secret method of sea god descends. It's very strong. It's the one you saw just now. Besides, there is one thing you have to pay attention to, the sea demons may carry divine weapons, so be very careful. Lu Renquang exclaimed, divine weapons? Han Fei nodded solemnly. They should be prepared for the leafless tree. They won't use them casually. If you find the leafless tree, you must be careful. Luo Xiaobai nodded. Okay, I see. Han Fei bared his teeth. Okay, go back. Otherwise, I can't explain it to you. Lu Renquang sighed. Why don't you go back with us? Isn't it dangerous to stay with the sea demons? Han Fei kicked him. Don't be a hypocrite. Get out of here. Suddenly, Han Fei shouted, wait a minute. Lu Renquang quickly turned around, and Luo Xiaobai also popped up again. Han Fei suddenly asked with a gloomy face, in the past few months, have there been any super strong masters who have come to the Scattered Stars Island? Lu Renquang was shocked. Huh? How strong is very strong? Luo Xiaobai hesitated for a while and suddenly said, no strong masters have come to the Scattered Stars Island. However, one thing happened. It has been raining heavily on the Scattered Stars Island for half a month. Han Fei was at a loss. Huh? What's going on? Lu Renquang was also at a loss. Isn't it because of the weather? Luo Xiaobai shook her head. In a secret scroll I received, there is such a paragraph of information saying that this is caused by a strong master calculating the heavenly secrets. I once heard from my ancestor that if the heavenly secrets are in disorder, it is very likely to cause abnormal weather phenomena. Han Fei frowned. Calculating the heavenly secrets. The heavenly secrets are in disorder. Han Fei nodded. Got it. You can go back. First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 793. After separating from Luo Xiaobai and Lu Renkuang, Han Fei immediately asked, Old Shu, call me big brother. Who's the old man? Han Fei chuckled. Brother, what's up with this divination? What's with the disorder of heaven's secrets? Shu Shan was silent for a long time. Boy, did you do something to turn yourself into a sea demon and dare not return to the human race? Han Fei said helplessly, just tell me what's going on. Is it fun to make wild guesses? Shu Shan said leisurely, divination. It was something that could only be achieved by those who had at least 1 foot in the explorer realm, or even the venerable realm. And what? The bracelet trembled. And the chaos of the heavenly mysteries must be accompanied by the concealment of the heavenly mysteries or the blessing of providence. If they want to conceal the heavenly secrets, they have to be at least a venerable level expert or have the protection of a magical treasure. Han Fei's heart slightly trembled. It felt so far away from him. He had only heard of the venerable before, but had never seen one. Would there be one in the 1,000-star city? However, Han Fei was secretly relieved. The weather anomaly that Luo Xiaobai said should be over. However, he could not panic. If those people were still there, he wouldn't be able to deduce the void fishing art immediately even if he went out. Otherwise, he would definitely be discovered. Han Fei took a breath and said, whatever, let's find the 10,000-year tree demon first. Old Shu, how are the effects of 2 fate fruits? Shu Shan snorted. What can I do? Relatively speaking, it increases vitality a little bit, which is a little better than your spirit awakening fluid of less than 500 caddies. But when I helped you just now, I also consumed a lot of energy. As if he didn't hear the last sentence, Han Fei asked in surprise, life fruit is better than spirit awakening fluid? Shu Shan, of course, which is more important, lifespan or aptitude? At any time, any expert would think that lifespan is more important. Han Fei curled his lips. But don't you only have a soul left? Shu Shan said angrily, I don't want to talk to you, I'm going to sleep. Han Fei hurriedly said, don't. I'll have to rely on you to find the 10,000-year tree demon. You heard it just now. Semi-divine weapons can't block the 10,000-year demon stinger at all. Shu Shan sneered. I don't want to talk to a hanging fisher who has a sea-quelling bizarre treasure. Han Fei, for Han Fei, finding the leafless tree was secondary. The passageway was there, and whether it would open or not was predetermined. Moreover, not everything had to fall on his head all the time. Over the past 3 days, he and Little White had been digging spirit fruits in that direction. It was really refreshing. At this moment, Han Fei was sitting on a giant algae. In his perception, there was an octopus disguised as part of the giant seaweed lying more than 300 meters away from him. And on the ground 1,000 meters away, there was a small forest. In the forest, there was an especially small stalk that seemed to be a material that surpassed the peak grade. It gave off the feeling that it was a material that could be used to forge divine weapons. Han Fei took out a peppermint leaf and stuffed it into his mouth as he quietly scanned the grove. Other than the 1,000-year tree demon in disguise, he had already discovered the 100-year tree demon. But among so many small trees, there was always a disguised 100-year tree demon. Moreover, he felt that there was danger here. Until now, Han Fei didn't know where the danger came from. In fact, Han Fei didn't want to take risks now, so he had been sitting here, exploring the underground bit by bit with his perception. Not far from the 1,000-year tree demon, there was a bunch of potato-like fruits. This was why he stayed here. He had been here for 6 hours, and he had chewed 7 or 8 peppermint leaves, but Han Fei still didn't move. Suddenly, in Han Fei's perception, a team of 7 sea demons appeared. Han Fei immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they were not human beings. Otherwise, he would have to think about how to stop them. Immediately, Han Fei didn't move but directly cast a stealth array and breath-concealing array on himself. He slowed down his breathing, just sat here, and watched the scene here quietly. Since those people had come, they would definitely find this place. He didn't dare to do it, but it wouldn't hurt to let them try. Han Fei was quite confident in his array. If their strength hadn't been suppressed to the demonization realm, it would be hard to say. But since they suppressed their strength to this realm, they wouldn't be able to find him. After a moment, 7 people came one after another. The man in the lead looked familiar to Han Fei, but he didn't know him. Han Fei wasn't familiar with these team members, but he had seen them all. Master Yu He, this place is weird. There are so many small trees. Huh, there's a 100-year tree demon. Yu He narrowed his eyes. More than that. Look at that thin stick-like thing. It's probably a 1,000-year tree demon. Suddenly, someone was overjoyed. Master, there's a large bunch of spiritual fruits underground, at least 20. Yu He's perception also scanned it, and he licked his lips. Tisk, TSK, a 1,000-year tree demon and a 100-year tree demon in disguise? Destroy them. Han Fei subconsciously narrowed his eyes. He saw that when Yu He bombarded the 1,000-year tree demon, the 1,000-year tree demon tried to stab it with its 1,000-year demonic stinger. But, Han Fei felt something was wrong. Why didn't the 1,000-year tree demon move? Chilla. Suddenly, the seawater became viscous, and Han Fei subconsciously used the eyes of true vision. Ha! There's no problem. But suddenly, a sharp stinger pierced directly out of the ground 100 meters high. It was so fast that it looked like a flash of light in the seawater. Clang! Yu He was horrified. He had been very careful. At the moment when the light appeared, he suddenly turned into a skeleton fish, and the flesh and blood on his body disappeared. In this way, the 3 fish bones were taken away by this stinger. When Yu He was blasted away, he seemed to have hit a big net. Han Fei immediately thought of something. Fuse. The yin-yang divine eyes appeared, and then Han Fei trembled slightly. There was an invisible net above him, including the area where he was standing. Yes, it was silk that was completely integrated with the water. But this time, Han Fei looked at the thin small tree again, only to find that the roots of the small tree were connected to nearly 50 small trees. This didn't appear before, so he didn't notice it. Waves of strange power drilled into its body from the 50 small trees. Han Fei frowned. Impossible. Could it be? Yu He was seriously injured and moved sideways. Not good, run quickly. It's a 10,000-year tree demon. Han Fei's pupils suddenly constricted. Is this a fucking 10,000-year tree demon? He had always thought it was a 1,000-year tree demon. He had been sitting here without moving just to see clearly how many 1,000-year tree demons and 100-year tree demons there were. But now he was told that it was a 10,000-year tree demon. Damn it, even the yin-yang divine eyes can't see the 10,000-year tree demon when it hasn't launched an attack? At least, in this strange illusory place, the eyes of true vision are completely useless. However, when Yu He shouted, the 10,000-year demon's stings flashed like lightning, one after another. As long as one was stabbed, there would be a second one immediately. Then, a large number of straw-like vines would be thrown out in an instant, buckling the person who was stabbed. Semi-divine weapons were indeed useless in front of the 10,000-year demon's stings. One of the half-mermaids reacted in time, and after being stabbed, he turned into water and fled. His speed was very fast, but the 10,000-year demon's stings immediately found his position according to the fluctuations of the water ripples and stabbed him once, twice, 3 times, in the blink of an eye, except for Yu-He, among the remaining people, only one guy who had turned into a jellyfish was still alive. Jellyfishes were like jelly. They didn't feel anything when they were stabbed once or twice. Unfortunately, the companion spirit summoned by the man escaped with its master and was stabbed to death in the next moment. The jellyfish without a companion spirit was stabbed hundreds of times. Countless vines buckled him, and then those straw-like things began to suck crazily, turning the jellyfish into a layer of skin. In the end, that layer of skin became a dried fish. As for Yu-He, he used Sea God Descends, and a golden phantom blocked in front of him. Clang, clang, clang. The jellyfish was stabbed again and again, and the man quickly floated up. More than 100 meters away, Yu-He's harpoon stirred crazily, and then Han Fei saw the invisible silk net. Oh no, to be precise, it was a kind of silk thread. It was terrifyingly tough, but it still failed to block the bombardment of the semi-divine harpoon. Yu-He finally broke out of the net, his face full of horror. At this moment, Han Fei knew that the 10,000-year tree demon was not invincible. However, within 100 meters from the bottom of the sea, it was invincible. Han Fei looked down. He seemed to be sitting at a height of only about 50 meters from the ground. Just when Han Fei was considering whether to flash out or not, suddenly, a voice fell in Han Fei's mind. Aren't you going to take action? It should be easier to rob him than to rob me. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. Fuck, was I discovered by this 10,000-year tree demon? That's right, I'm so close to it, and I only managed to conceal myself just now. How could the other party not find him? But why didn't it take action? Han Fei didn't know. However, this 10,000-year tree demon was right about one thing. It should be easier to rob Yu-He. At this moment, his Sea God Descends was stabbed dozens of times and almost couldn't take it anymore. The point was that Yu-He failed to block the first blow and was seriously injured. The corners of Han Fei's mouth immediately curled up. Looking at Yu-He not far away from him, he felt he was looking at a dead man. Void Chain. Lightning Blade. Second. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 794. Yu-He didn't expect that he was already at a height of nearly 200 meters, but where did this chain come from? Sizzle. It was a bolt of lightning in the dark night. Apart from the fact that it didn't split into many branches and illuminated thousands of miles, its dazzling radiance was gorgeous enough. Han Fei was waiting for Yu-He Sea God's descent to be useless before he took action. Yu-He, who was seriously injured, couldn't block the lightning blade. Sure enough, Yu-He was killed by Han Fei's sneak attack. However, he would still come back to life. Like everyone else, the immortal seal helped him block a blow and gave him a second life. However, more than 100 meters in the sky, in addition to Han Fei, there was also a steel warrior carrying an ice sword. As soon as Yu-He came out of the void, he saw Han Fei waving at him. Yu Fei. Yu-He's face became furious, but then panic. The terrifying knife light was reflected in his pupils in the blink of an eye. It was so fast that he couldn't react at all. It was so fast that he just reached out and took out a new semi-divine battle suit. Unfortunately, before he put on his clothes, the sword light had already arrived. Puff! Yu-He was cut in half by the sword light. And Han Fei waved his hand, put away the overlord, held the embroidery needle in his hand, and shouted wildly, "Big, big, big," a terrifying energy attack bombarded at him. However, Han Fei flashed and disappeared in this terrifying energy. With Han Fei's current strength, if he activated the majestic mystic spell and little fatty attached to him, he could easily block this blow. But why did he block it? Under him was the 10,000-year tree demon. Boom! A hole was blasted out of the seabed. Unfortunately, it didn't hit the 10,000-year tree demon. This fellow had already shifted his direction. As for those ordinary small trees, more than 30 of them were destroyed. Han Fei's yin-yang divine eyes found that there were only 4,200-year tree demons connected to the 10,000-year tree demon. Boom! A thick stick stood on the bottom of the sea. This stick had a radius of 2 meters and a height of more than 50 meters, standing quietly on the bottom of the sea. Clang! 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 The 10,000-year tree demon tried to poke it a few times, only to be dumbfounded. It could only lift this stick that was thicker than a pillar a few meters high. Then, it would fall again, just like a pile driver. Han Fei chuckled. Why didn't you attack me just now? The 10,000-year tree demon was silent for a while. I know you are very dangerous. But you can't kill me either. You won't be able to find me if I go underground. Han Fei nodded. Yes. Indeed. I won't be able to find you if you burrow into the ground. However, I can kill all these 100-year tree demons. 10,000-year tree demon, there are many 100-year tree demons, how many can you kill? Han Fei chuckled. Why don't you have a try? Try running. After I get rid of these 100-year tree demons, do you think I can find you? That 10,000-year tree demon ran as soon as it said it would, and with a whoosh, it drilled into the ground. Han Fei was speechless. Where's your integrity? Where was the demeanor of an expert? You're really running away. Han Fei just narrowed his eyes and sneered. Do you think I'm kidding? The disadvantage of the 100-year tree demons was extremely obvious. They couldn't drill into the ground, which was the privilege of the 1,000-year tree demons and the 10,000-year tree demons. Also, the 100-year demon stings of the 100-year tree demons could only pierce 15 meters into the ground at most. This was already the limit, and it couldn't go any higher. Therefore, as long as their disguise was seen through, they were just moving targets. Although they could take out their roots and run away, how could they be faster than Han Fei? Half an hour later, none of the 4,200-year tree demons escaped. They were all wiped out by Han Fei. Han Fei even forcibly clasped 1,300-year demon stings. And the more than 20 fruits on the ground before. Ha, they were all lies, just a trick of the 10,000-year tree demon. Han Fei was very glad that he didn't make a move at the beginning, otherwise he might have been killed by the 10,000-year tree demon. Under the leadership of Little White, it only took half an hour for a big stick to stand on the ground again. Not far away, there was a tree no different from a normal small tree. However, its aura had been exposed. It wouldn't be difficult to find it again. Unless it had been hiding underground and didn't come out. Han Fei thought, this is a kind of escape technique, but you can't always be underground. At this moment, Han Fei smiled and said, sure enough, I guessed right. Even if you are a 10,000-year tree demon, your strength is completely suppressed here, so you can't always hide underground. The 10,000-year tree demon was silent for a while. How did you find me? Han Fei bared his teeth. I don't know if you have heard of a saying. Whenever there is contact, there must be a trace. You have occupied that place for so long that it's too easy to find your residual aura. The 10,000-year tree demon scoffed. But you still can't kill me. Even if you have such a divine weapon, you can't kill me. Han Fei suddenly said, you have never been out of this world in your life, have you? The 10,000-year tree demon was silent. So what? Han Fei had an answer in his heart. No wonder he didn't know about the sea-quelling bizarre treasure. Otherwise, how could a 10,000-year tree demon not know about the sea-quelling bizarre treasure? Han Fei asked again, does the 10,000-year tree demon mean that you have really lived for 10,000 years? That's too long. As a tree, it's not easy for you to live for 10,000 years. The bracelet suddenly trembled. I haven't lived to 10,000 years. About 3,000 years. A 1,000-year tree demon of 3,000 years can probably forcibly absorb the nutrients of a 100-year tree demon, which can speed up its growth. Han Fei continued, tree, you are a tree that has lived for at least 3,000 years. Do you really want to die? The 10,000-year tree demon didn't know why Han Fei changed the number of years and just responded, "You can't kill me." Han Fei sneered. "I can't kill you alone, but what if I call 10 people and come prepared?" The 10,000-year tree demon said, "They are no match for me." Han Fei narrowed his eyes. "Can you shrink into the ground at the same time when you attack? Or can you infinitely burrow into the ground? Just now, didn't your 10,000-year demon stinger kill that person? Let me tell you, there are many people like that. I'm not in a hurry. I can wait for them to come. Then, we can kill you together." The 10,000-year tree demon was silent and didn't speak. Han Fei didn't care and continued, "Of course, if you give me the heritage dredging fruit, I don't have to kill you. After all, it's very troublesome to kill you. I can even help you kill the leafless tree. Don't you want to go out? After going out, your strength will be liberated. Although you don't have the heritage dredging fruit, you'll become stronger." The 10,000-year tree demon replied this time, "Do you think I can go out just because you say so? Do you think those people can kill that old thief?" Han Fei frowned. From what the 10,000-year tree demon said, the leafless tree demon must be very powerful. Han Fei rolled his eyes. "Otherwise, why do you think we came here? Since you have lived for more than 3,000 years, you should know that sea demons and human beings have always been enemies. When human beings arrive and insist on saving the leafless tree, we may not have a chance. But if you join forces with me, why can't we kill the leafless tree? Could it be that its strength isn't restricted?" The leaves of the 10,000-year tree demon swayed. "You don't know how terrifying that old monster is. We can't kill it. If we could, we would have killed it long ago." Han Fei narrowed his eyes and continued to deceive. "Look at me, I have brought several divine weapons. Just now, you also saw that attack. Do you think that kind of attack can't kill it?" The 10,000-year tree demon said firmly, "Yes, it can't be killed." Han Fei couldn't help but feel a little scared. Even the sea-quelling bizarre treasure couldn't kill the leafless tree. That's fucking ridiculous. If so, why did Blue Feather let people come in to cut the tree? Wow! Unless some of these sea demons have been given some unique techniques. Shu Shan said, "Well, it's right. It can't be killed. Even if you have the sea-quelling bizarre treasure, you may not be able to kill it. You have to look at your own strength and level, right?" Han Fei's face was black. "What's wrong with my strength? What's wrong with my level? Is it shameful?" Han Fei ignored Shu Shan and said directly to the 10,000-year tree demon, "This time, we came with a powerful weapon, but it's not with me. Now I'm persuading you to give me the heritage dredging fruit. Anyway, you tree demons don't have demonic heritage, so you're not restricted by it. Otherwise, believe it or not, I'll take people to cut you down first even if I can't kill the leafless tree." Han Fei immediately said, "I know, there's only one heritage dredging fruit. Give it to me, and then hide yourself. Hide far, far away. If you don't give it to me, once a second person comes, that heritage dredging fruit won't be enough. At that time, you'll die if you give it to me or not. I don't have much patience. I'll give you 100 seconds to think about it." Shu Shan said leisurely, "You're young, but you're quite arrogant." Han Fei said, "Can you stop talking? I've just raised my morale, but you've ruined it with just a few words." The 10,000-year tree demon seemed to be lost in thought. Han Fei unhurriedly took out a peppermint leaf, stuffed it into his mouth, chewed it a little, and added, "It's not easy to live for 3,000 years. Don't die for a fruit. The channel will open, but it depends on luck, on who wins, us or the human beings. You can hope that we win, and then you can go out. Is the temptation of going out worth a fruit?" The 10,000-year tree demon asked, "How can I believe you?" Han Fei sneered. "Apart from the heritage dredging fruit, what else do you have that other people covet? Your 10,000-year demonic stinger. I don't have any hope for that thing. You ran so fast. Who knows where you went? As for your real body, I have a divine weapon. Why would I covet your real body? The 10,000-year tree demon asked, if you take the heritage dredging fruit and others chase me, what should I do? So, after you give it to me, you have to hide. Don't get close to the leafless tree. Because it will become a battlefield. I'm not joking with you. If you get killed because you get close to the leafless tree, don't blame me. The 10,000-year tree demon pondered for a moment and suddenly threw out a golden fruit. The third night watch. Please vote. Today is the third night watch. For more exciting things, stay tuned next time. End of this chapter. Chapter 795. Han Fei waved his hand and Hai Shui sent the fruit to him. Information appeared in his eyes. Name: a meridian dredging fruit. Introduction: a legendary fruit born in the sea demon forest. It bears fruit once every 1,000 years and can reverse one's life. It is extremely rare. Eating it could forcefully increase the potential of living beings. Level: heaven. Quality: high quality. It contains spiritual energy greater than 468,500 points. Effect: increases one's life potential and cleanses one's muscles and marrow. No side effects. Remark: only usable by those with spirit veins or demon veins of level 7. Spirit fruits of the same type could only be used once. Han Fei's eyes flickered. It's really good stuff. If he took this thing out to sell, people would probably fight over it, right? Of course, it was impossible to sell it. If he could hack it, that would be the best. With a flip of his hand, the fruit disappeared. Han Fei smiled. Smart choice. Remember, a great war is about to break out, and it is not something you are qualified to get involved in. If you encounter other sea demons chasing after you, don't panic, just kill them. They don't have my tracking skills. However, if he encountered a human, he must not make a move. Humans had too many tricks up their sleeves. If you meet them, just hide underground and come out later. Got it. However, the 10,000-year tree demon drilled into the ground with a whoosh and disappeared. Han Fei smiled and thought to himself, what a fool. He had never seen such a stupid creature except for the hexagon starfish. As expected, the easiest beings to deceive in this world are those who haven't seen the world. Shu Shan was shocked, as if he had seen something unbelievable. You tricked him just like that? Shu Shan didn't expect that Han Fei could get the heritage dredging fruit with just a few words. Was it that simple? Han Fei chuckled. I'm telling the truth. Tell me, why would a 10,000-year-old tree demon want such a thing? To it, this was a life-threatening thing. If that wasn't the case, I'm afraid no one would have asked me to snatch this fruit. Besides, if he doesn't give it to me, I'll really find a way to kill it. The bracelet shook a few times. Perhaps Shu Shan was muttering to himself, or did he think it was too easy? The meridian dredging fruit was not suitable for him to absorb at the moment. At the very least, he would have to wait until he had a tier 6 spirit meridian. When the time came, he would use this thing to break through to the 7th level. To Qishua Huan. If it wasn't absolutely necessary, he definitely wouldn't want to give it away. It's time to find the leafless tree. Han Fei put away the embroidery needle and was a little worried. Although a normal person would have no sense of direction here. However, after so many days, there were bound to be people who explored it. The humans were few in number. If they really clashed with the sea demons, the battle would not be easy. Daughter, let's go and find a tree. Half a day later, Han Fei stood in a messy and broken woodland. The place was a mess. A large number of vines had been cut into pieces, and the ground was full of potholes from the battle. Han Fei also felt that there were remnants of arrays here, as well as strong knife intent and sword intent. I've finally met him. Unfortunately, there were no corpses here. They must have been taken away by humans and sea demons respectively. In any case, Han Fei smelled the intense smell of blood. Someone must have died here. I'm afraid the battle will only last for 2 hours. Han Fei frowned and then continued to search. With Little White leading the way, he wasn't afraid that he couldn't find the leafless tree. However, after swimming for less than 100 kilometers, he saw another battlefield. This battlefield had just been fought, and it definitely hadn't been more than half an hour. The smell of blood here was equally strong, which showed how fierce the battlefield was at that time. Suddenly, Han Fei heard vague screams coming from the seawater. Sea demon scream. With a swish, Han Fei rushed out. A distance of 300 kilometers was very close, and now he should be getting closer and closer to the leafless tree. Therefore, the battlefield appeared more and more frequently. When Han Fei swam 50 kilometers, he heard another sea demon scream, this time much clearer. Han Fei didn't stop and kept moving forward. However, when he perceived the battlefield, he found it very strange. Only 3 sea demons were still alive, and there were thousands of spider silk-like threads that tied the 3 sea demons. No, it's an ambush. Han Fei immediately bared his teeth. The humans had set up an ambush and deliberately kept the 3 sea demons alive. Han Fei immediately stopped, slowly took out a mint leaf, and stuffed it into his mouth. Although he didn't perceive anything around him, he seemed to feel that something dangerous was approaching. After perceiving for a while, Han Fei suddenly felt that something was wrong. He saw a red leaf on a giant algae vine. Su Hongye. Han Fei had once explored the snow god's temple with Su Hongye, so he naturally knew this woman's ability. The moment he saw the red leaf, he was alarmed, and an array was suddenly propped up. Then, the water rippled quietly 100 meters away from Han Fei. Puff! The giant algae on Han Fei's body was cut off, and he had been ejected. Stealth array. Breath-concealing array. Han Fei realized that an array master had come. Han Fei thought of Meng Yi. And the dagger attack just now, wasn't it Yi Xiangxiang? Immediately, Han Fei realized that he had run into an old teammate. Oh! This must be a team that was going to ambush me. In the end, he just had to come in by himself. Immediately afterward, an extremely fierce spear shot at him. It turned out to be a lock-on skill. Light flash. A golden harpoon appeared in his hand, and Han Fei quickly blasted it out. The harpoon hit the spear, and a huge force shook his body, but it didn't shake him. Han Fei took advantage of the force to escape. But then, a terrifying knife light appeared out of thin air, bursting out from more than 20 meters above him. Another lock-on skill. Han Fei blocked it with his harpoon. Clang! That was a stronger force than the spear just now. That saber strike was so terrifying that it probably had more than half the power of his drawing technique. Han Fei felt that his arms were numb, and he was cut from a height of 100 meters to the ground. Puff! Thousands of silk threads darted out, trying to tie Han Fei up. However, Han Fei seemed to have expected it. With a flying flower demon flash, he appeared 20 meters away. When Han Fei saw the array under his feet light up, he was speechless. A killing array. It's just to deal with me. Is it necessary to use a killing array? However, Han Fei was immediately relieved. It was not a special killing formation. It was a wave-breaking saber formation, which was similar to the Seven Spirits killing formation. It was a formation that used ripples as an attack method. Every ripple was equivalent to an extra knife. In the end, there were more and more knives, and the killing array was full. Han Fei smiled and pointed his finger, and a wave of water exploded at the edge of the array. In the next moment, the array was broken. Han Fei moved extremely fast and rushed forward crazily. At that moment, the sky was full of red leaves. However, Han Fei didn't care at all. A golden battle suit appeared on his body, and he rushed forward. Every time a leaf landed on his body, there would be a ding-ding-dang-dang sound. After a moment, Meng Yi and the others walked out of hiding with dumbfounded looks on their faces. Yi Xiangxiang asked curiously, is it possible? He's just an inferior man-fish, but his reaction speed is too fast. Even the Dragon Moon Extreme Fire Knife couldn't hurt him at all. Su Hongye smiled bitterly. My attacks have no effect on him. It's not only because he's wearing a semi-divine battle suit, but also because his physique is extremely strong. Meng Yi pondered for a while. He broke the array in an instant. Maybe he knows arrays. Ning Dong walked over from a distance, confused. This is the first inferior man-fish that can take one of my spears. In the shadows, a woman in a red dress walked out with a dark red long knife in her hand. He's not an inferior man-fish. Looking at where Han Fei left, the woman frowned and said, he's an azure sea blue demon. Yi Xiangxiang also asked, what's an azure sea blue demon? The woman said, it's a special existence among the inferior man-fish. It's a sea demon awakened by some unknown mutation and has a demonic heritage that can grow. Su Hongye was stunned. Why haven't I heard of it? The woman said casually, because even the azure sea blue demons aren't very strong. Although they can grow their demonic heritage, it's still very difficult to cultivate it to a very high level. Apart from the azure sea blue demons, there's also a red blood demon in the 10,000 Demon Valley that's as strong as a sea spirit and as strong as a law enforcer. Hiss. Yi Xiangxiang said in surprise, so, this azure sea blue demon is a very special existence. He's stronger than other azure sea blue demons? The woman in red nodded. Yes, judging from his reaction and strength just now, I'm afraid that none of the half-mermaids we met are stronger than him except for the captain. Meng Yi frowned. Let's kill the 3 sea demons and leave quickly. I wonder if their reinforcements are nearby. If we're surrounded, it'll be very disadvantageous for us. Bah! Han Fei spat out the peppermint in his mouth, picked a new one, and put it in his mouth. At this moment, he hit on a big leaf and scratched his head. He was sure that it was Meng Yi and the others. It's indeed the Scattered Stars first unit. If I had reacted a bit slower and been surrounded by them, it would have been hard for me to get out. The bracelet slightly shivered. I'm interested in the armorist who shot you with a spear just now. If he's killed in the battle, give me his body. Han Fei rolled his eyes. Wait, old man, do you want him to die? Can't you be a sea demon for a few days? If you want to be a sea demon, I can get you a hidden fisher right now. After you possess it, you can quickly become stronger. The bracelet trembled. Ha! After I go out, I'll be seen through. Then, I'll be killed in the 10,000 Demon Valley. Han Fei smiled and said, no, old man, I think you can really consider it that way. After I go out, I'll help you kill a half-mermaid that's a hidden fisher. In the future, we may be able to cooperate. What do you think of selling spiritual stones? The currency systems of humans and sea demons are different, and their purchasing power is different. I think I can make a lot of money. Old man, say something. Chapter 796. Han Fei was sitting on the leaf to rest. If he guessed right, there should be more than one ambush on the way to find the leafless tree. For now, it seemed that the human side had an advantage. After all, Little White took out a leaf of the leafless tree, indicating that the human side had been in contact with the leafless tree. Han Fei even suspected that the leafless tree took the initiative to contact the human side and pull the human side to rescue it before the sea demons did. Just when Han Fei was about to let Little White continue to look for the leafless tree, suddenly, the demon purification pot moved and began to spin. Han Fei subconsciously got up and scanned the surroundings with his perception. With a sweep of his gaze, he suddenly saw an old face on a large tree not far away. Han Fei felt that his hair was standing on end. Was it really that weird? A human face? Who are you? The golden harpoon suddenly appeared in Han Fei's hand. He looked at the big tree coldly, ready to take action at any time. The tree face laughed and said in an old voice, "Aren't you all looking for me? I'm here myself, so you don't have to look for me." Han Fei's heart trembled. "Are you the leafless tree?" The eyebrows on the face raised. "Yes. You can call me that." Han Fei narrowed his eyes. "Why are you still looking for me?" Han Fei thought to himself, "This is my first time here. I don't even know what you look like. Why are you looking for me?" The corners of the mouth of the face were trembling, and it said leisurely, "I've paid attention to you. You have no feelings for those half-mermaids and half-mermaids. On the contrary, you are very friendly to humans. I have a guess. You are not a sea demon, right?" "Wow!" Han Fei was shocked. How did the leafless tree know that? Is his perception range so large? Han Fei looked at the leafless tree expressionlessly and said, "How can I be a human? I am indeed a sea demon." The tree face smiled and said nothing. After a while, it said, "When I guarded this passage, the person on you shouldn't have been born yet. After so many years, this place has become a new demon forest. Nothing can hide from me." Han Fei glanced at the universe bracelet in surprise. Shu Shan has been discovered. Han Fei wondered, "So? Why are you looking for me?" The tree face said, "You have a different aura. It's an aura I'm very familiar with. I felt it 30 years ago." Han Fei's pupils suddenly constricted. More than 30 years ago again. What a freaking coincidence. Han Fei tilted his head. "So?" The tree face raised its eyebrows. "Actually, whether or not the passage is opened has nothing to do with me. It requires an opportunity. However, this opportunity hasn't arrived yet. You've come too early." Han Fei's expression remained unchanged. "Oh, really? When will it arrive?" The tree face smiled slightly and said, "An opportunity is an opportunity. In the moment it comes, that second, you will know. It doesn't come when I say it will. However, when the opportunity arrives, it will also be the moment I escape from the sea of suffering." Pondering for a long time, Han Fei asked, "Are you saying that the opportunity has something to do with me?" The tree face nodded slightly. "It should be. It was just a feeling. You're special. In fact, you're really special. You look different from ordinary half-mermaids, and you've been trying to kill them." Han Fei chuckled. "You know I'm different?" Han Fei chuckled. He didn't quite believe what the leafless tree said. Han Fei calmed his expression and stared at the tree face. "How do I know if you are the leafless tree? Also, why did you come to me now?" The tree face sighed and said, "I need someone to come and save me." Han Fei frowned. "There are so many strong human beings. What's the point of calling me if you don't call them? I'm only one person. Can I help you kill so many sea demons?" The leafless tree said, "I'm not sure if the human side is full of good people. However, I have informed some of the people who hold my leaves. However, there are a lot of sea demons, and they are destroying my foundation." Han Fei asked, "Destroying your foundation? What do you mean? Since you can perceive all of us, it shows that you are very strong. Can't you kill those sea demons yourself?" The old face of the leafless tree was full of sadness, and it let out a long sigh. "My strength is not as strong as you think. Otherwise, no one would have sent a sea demon to kill me. You should know that this demon forest is actually just a channel. This passageway had been heavily sealed by an expert. The purpose is to prevent some top masters from passing through here. Killing me can't actually open the channel, but it can gradually lift the seal. Do you know what this means?" Han Fei frowned. "Once the seal is lifted, strong masters can come in and then forcibly open the channel?" The leafless tree nodded. "Opening the channel and connecting to the sea demon forest, will it cause a huge change? Even I don't know. However, This will not only have an impact on humans and sea demons, but also on our sea demon forest. The bracelet trembled, and Shu Shan said, "It's right about this. No one knows what the consequences will be." Once, humans fought side by side with the demonic plants of the sea demon forest. At that time, it was said that the sea demon forest was wantonly destroyed. After all, the demonic plants you saw were very powerful, probably just because people had never seen them before. Once they figured out the fighting style of the demonic plants, it might not be difficult to kill them. For example, the previous 100-year tree demons and 1,000-year tree demons. Even the 10,000-year tree demon, didn't you get the heritage dredging fruit from it? Han Fei pondered for a while. You said someone is destroying your foundation. How? The leafless tree replied, I have two main foundations. One is the 100-year tree demon and 1,000-year tree demon you found. It's like an array. The more the materials of the array are damaged, the more unstable the foundation will be. Han Fei asked in surprise, they are the foundation of the array? The leafless tree nodded slightly. Yes. They grew up here and have long been inseparable from this channel. However, this is secondary. If I kill them, I'll be killed. If there are too many of them, they will also hurt me. Also, as the main array core of this large array, as long as the earth veins here are destroyed, my strength will be greatly reduced. Han Fei frowned. What earth veins? I don't know. The leafless tree replied, there are 3 teams of sea demons that know how to destroy earth veins. Han Fei asked bluntly, then what can I do for you? The leafless tree replied, even if the earth veins are destroyed, they can be saved, but I need a trustworthy person to do this. Han Fei thought to himself, I don't even know if I can trust you. Do you trust me so much? Han Fei replied, I'm a sea demon. Do you trust me so much? Suddenly, an illusory light and shadow appeared in front of Han Fei's eyes. In that light and shadow, there was a vine leaf. When he saw this vine leaf, in Han Fei's mind, the demon purification pot spun frantically. Wow! The vine leaf of the demon purification pot. Han Fei gasped and looked at the long face in shock. You, the leafless tree said, I sensed it when you came in. Although I don't know what it is, I know you need it. Unfortunately, I can't give it to you now. Han Fei's eyes flickered. When can you give it to me? The leafless tree trembled its branches and leaves and said, when the opportunity arises, you will come again. Knowing the vines of the demon purification pot and the trembling of the demon purification pot, he basically confirmed that the leafless tree was telling the truth. Han Fei asked, how can I help you repair the earth veins? Swish. 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 Suddenly, under the seabed, more than 20 red spikes emerged. 1,000-year demon spikes. Han Fei asked in surprise, why are there so many 1,000-year demon spikes? In front of Han Fei's eyes, the void changed again. It was a complete map of the secret realm, like an irregular rectangular map. However, the geographical scope of this secret realm seemed to be very large, so he had never been to the border before. On the map, he could clearly see where he was. On the map, there were more than 20 red dots marked. The leafless tree said, the earth veins in these places have been destroyed. As long as I put these 1,000-year demon spikes there, I can control the earth veins myself. You can find a nearby earth vein and have a look. Then you will know whether I am lying to you or not. There have been battles there. Han Fei nodded. I will confirm it. In addition, since you can control those 100-year tree demons and 1,000-year tree demons, protect humans. The leafless tree sighed. No, I can only control the 100-year tree demons. The 1,000-year tree demons will not be controlled by me, and the 10,000-year tree demon may even consider killing me. Huh? The leafless tree explained, after becoming a 1,000-year tree demon, their intelligence has been extremely high. And staying in this secret realm will infinitely suppress their strength. Only by killing me and escaping can they have a chance to grow. Especially the 10,000-year tree demon, his strength is already extremely strong in a certain sense. If it weren't for the suppression, they would have already killed their way out. No wonder. Han Fei frowned. No wonder. If I were sealed in this world and my strength has been suppressed to the peak of the demon transformation realm, I'm afraid I would also find a way to kill the leafless tree and escape, right? Chapter 797. Han Fei quickly swam towards the nearest red dot. According to the scale of the map, the red dot was about 800 kilometers away. On the way, Shu Shan asked, "Do you really believe what that tree said?" Han Fei thought for a moment. Why not? If there is indeed a lot of demonic energy left in that place and there are traces of destruction underground, then what it said should be true. The bracelet vibrated slightly. Your vigilance seems to have disappeared when you saw that vine. Do you know that thing? Han Fei smiled secretly. How can I tell you about the demon purification pot? No. Shu Shan snorted. Then you know it. However, it looks like an ordinary grass vine. There doesn't seem to be anything special about it. Han Fei didn't explain. He didn't want to and wouldn't explain this kind of secret to Shu Shan. He swam about 500 kilometers. Suddenly, Han Fei perceived that somewhere 40 kilometers away, there was a team of sea demons fighting. The target of the battle was a 1,000-year tree demon. Among them, Han Fei knew one of them, Yu Yun. Han Fei frowned, cast a breath-concealing array and a stealth array on himself, and quietly approached. About 30 kilometers away, Han Fei sat on a giant algae vine. Han Fei was not afraid that his perception would be discovered. In the same realm, he didn't think these sea demons would be stronger than him. Just when Han Fei stuffed a mint leaf into his mouth, he found that a face appeared on the giant algae next to him. Han Fei said in surprise, "You're here again." The corners of the leafless tree's mouth curled up. In this demonic forest, I am everywhere. I can appear on every plant. Han Fei was shocked. This passage was more than tens of thousands of kilometers long. This leafless tree said that it could be everywhere. How strong was it? No wonder it trusted him so much. Before Han Fei asked, it said, "Don't think too much. I'm not that strong. Because I'm the sealing formation core of this passageway mystic realm, I can sense everything around me. Once I leave here, I can't perceive such a large range." Bam! Amidst the resplendent golden light, the 1,000-year tree demon was killed by the team leader. The man landed on the seabed and took out a dark green seed. The moment he placed the seed on the ground, he immediately shouted, "Everyone, rise into the sky." When everyone was dozens of meters above the ground, the seed began to swell. Pa! When the seed exploded, a large clump of dark green grass sprouts burst out. The blade of grass began to grow at a speed visible to the naked eye. Not long after, a small seed covered a radius of several dozen meters. When Yu Yun saw the captain, she smiled and couldn't help but ask, "Lord Fishbone, we have already dropped 2 seeds. What is the use of this seed?" Yu Gu took a deep look at Yu Yun and said, "Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. All you need to know is that this will help us kill that withered tree more easily." On the other side, Han Fei was stunned. Demon-shattering vines? The leafless tree said, "You know this kind of thing?" "Yes, this thing seems to be the demon-shattering vines. It can invade the earth veins, take root, and soon cover a large area. Then, it will pull away my control of this hell and erode my power." Han Fei swallowed. "Can I put it anywhere? The team I was in before also killed a 1,000-year tree demon, right?" The leafless tree shook his head. "Not everywhere. These people have been here many times. They had already scouted out the location of this passageway mystic realm. Besides, as long as they find the 1,000-year tree demon, it is equivalent to finding my weakness. They know that. Han Fei didn't believe the leafless tree's words just now, but now that he saw Yu Yun's team drop a demon-shattering vine, he was 80% convinced. The demon-shattering vine grew faster and faster, and soon, it covered a range of about 200 meters. Han Fei suddenly asked, "No, the demon-shattering vines I have seen can only cover a range of about 50 meters. However, this one has covered a range of 200 meters and is still growing." The leafless tree said, "That's because they are absorbing the power of this earth vein." Han Fei asked, "Can't you kill these demon-shattering vines?" The leafless tree sighed. "Once it is invaded by them, I can no longer control this area, and I will lose my perception of this area. I want to disappear." Before the leafless tree finished speaking, the old face had disappeared. Disappear just like that? So fast? The bracelet trembled, and Shu Shan said, "Now, I believe it a little bit. This demon-shattering vine is indeed not a good thing. Not only is it highly poisonous, but it also has a very strong sense of autonomy. Although it will produce things like the demon's spiritual fruit after it grows up, it is more harmful. If it is in the right place, it can even cover a range of hundreds or even thousands of kilometers." Thousands of kilometers? The bracelet trembled. "That's right. This is the fastest growing demonic plant that I know of. However, when it reaches a certain level, it also needs to make a breakthrough." Han Fei asked, "What level?" Shu Shan replied, "I don't know. Some are level 30, some are level 40, and some are level 50. It depends on the area they are in. If there is no accident, this demonic forest can satisfy their growth to level 40 in one go." Han Fei was shocked. "Really? Don't they have entrances?" The bracelet trembled. "Of course they do. Otherwise, if they continue to grow indefinitely, no one will be able to do anything to them. Everything has a limit, but the demon-shattering vine may have fewer restrictions." It wasn't until the demon-shattering vine grew to more than 500 meters that Yu Yun and the others left this area. After confirming that they had left the range of his perception, Han Fei slowly approached the other side, and information appeared in his eyes. Name: Demon-shattering vine. Introduction: a deep-sea hunter, highly poisonous, flexible, and covered with barbs. It feeds on large fish and shrimps, can hunt according to the abnormal movements of the water, and has a very strong sense of autonomy. When it matures, it will produce demon spiritual fruit, which can enhance the power of the soul. Level 39. Quality: exotic. It contains spiritual energy greater than 3,208 points. Effect: inedible, collectible, and unabsorbable. When he saw that the demon-shattering vine was only level 39, Han Fei breathed a sigh of relief. Han Fei landed and walked straight to the middle of the vines. Immediately, countless vines surged towards Han Fei. Bam! Han Fei casually punched out, and a large number of vines were crushed. Bam! 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 One punch after another, the demon-shattering vines on the surface were soon crushed. However, the vines buried deep underground gave Han Fei a headache. They had all drilled into the ground. What should he do? Besides, those broken vines were still growing out. "Nine tails, come out." After the nine-tailed mantis shrimp appeared, it circled around Han Fei and rubbed against him. Han Fei kicked out. "Go, dig a hole and smash all these vines for me." The nine tails glanced at the vines and thought, "Do you really need me to do such a simple thing?" Hundreds of void chains shot out and frantically drilled into the ground. Immediately, the vines were pulled out by the nine-tailed mantis shrimp one after another. It took Han Fei more than 10 minutes to completely crush a demon-shattering vine. The leafless tree popped up again, his old face hanging on a tree. "You're very fast. Now, as long as you leave the 1,000-year demon's sting, I can control the ownerless demon's sting and reoccupy this place." Han Fei said with some distress, "These are all good things. They can pierce through semi-divine weapons." The leafless tree, Han Fei asked, "Mr. Tree, can you give me some?" "Look, I've done my best." The leafless tree, the leafless tree said helplessly, every 1,000-year tree demon will only leave 1,000-year demon sting. In return, I can give you something else. Han Fei was overjoyed. He just said it casually. Even if the leafless tree didn't give him anything, he would still bury the 1,000-year demon sting. After all, this was not a personal matter. Only when the leafless tree was strong could it better deal with the sea demons and protect human beings. Han Fei couldn't help asking, what is it? Can you tell me in advance? The leafless tree was silent for a while and said leisurely, my sap. Han Fei. Sap. Why does it sound strange? What's the use of it? The leafless tree said slowly, it has strong energy and can strengthen your physique. Han Fei was embarrassed. It doesn't sound very useful. If I need energy, I have spiritual fruits. If I want to strengthen my physique, I can cultivate the indestructible body or the desolate god body. Han Fei shrugged and casually threw a 1,000-year demon sting into the ground. Okay. It's better than nothing. With a swoosh, Han Fei leaped out again. On the way, the big face of the leafless tree had been following him. The leafless tree said, you may have to speed up. There are already 7 teams of sea demons within 5,000 kilometers of me. There are only 4 human teams, and it will only take them about 3 days to get here. Han Fei felt a headache coming on. More than 20 earth veins have been destroyed. How can I be so fast? The leafless tree was silent for a while. There is another person who is also cleaning. Han Fei couldn't help but ask in surprise, who? The leafless tree said, you've met her. That Luo Xiaobai. However, she is only responsible for cleaning 5 places. She can't be too far away. She is a really powerful manipulator. Who? Xiaobai. She is leading a team. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.